I think we should be on. If you're there, people, just bear with me 2 seconds just to wait and see if we're on. Yeah, there we go. Hello there, people. Hang on. Just bear with me just to send the link here. Yep, that's us. So, hi people, how you doing? Eric will be here any minute for a chat. I'm noticing some people think that, you know, this is going to be some sort of interview, when really it's not, you know. I mean, Eric's just like any one of us, you know. He's just going to come in for a chat and hang out and say hello to people. It's really not an interview. So I'll just take this opportunity to say who I am and what this platform is. Everybody's heard it a million times before, but, you know, obviously people that have heard it know. Flat Earth here simply means that the globe is no true. For me personally, and many others, the full dimensions are unknown. We do not claim that any model or map is true. We are people who are questioning the claim that was put to us, falsifying it, and, you know, and now we need, you know, further progress in order to establish exactly where we are. So that's about it. So, you know, it's not going to be an interview. You know, Eric's going to come in and, you know, just chat away, you know, the same as the rest of us. So hopefully we'll speak to Gav and Ali and Rob and, you know, John or whoever else, the usual panel members. It'll be interesting. So I know some people are anticipating it is going to be, you know, some sort of interview, when, you know, it's not the case. I say, I'm not here for entertain people. I'm here because I want to find out the truth about where I am. You know, and so do the other people who are here, and that includes Eric. You know, everybody wants to know where they are. So that's what's important. To say, I'm not a TV presenter. I'm not here to entertain people or, you know, be anybody's saviour, and people should stop looking for a saviour and stop idolising people. You know, we need to learn from previous and how we get into this mess in the first place and progress from that. And in that progression, you know, you need individual people, critical thinking people who can come together for a common purpose, you know, without any of that stuff going on. So I will, hang on, I'll say hello in the chat. Scotland's flat, how are you? Night Angel, who that reminds me, Rugby 8. You know, I'll say it just now, I'm contemplating, you know, maybe still going live again at 7:30. Well, you know, we're not going to open up to everybody coming in this afternoon, for obvious reasons. But again, later on tonight, you know, considering going on at the usual time, just to have, you know, the platform open for anybody who wants to come in and make a point. Jack Partington, how you doing? Jamie Brown, how are you, man? Boakaya, Addy 53. Would love to listen to your broadcast on this weird, still milky sky afternoon here in the UK, but I draw a line at Eric Dubay. Catch you later. All right. So, you know, again, you know, people are going to do this. You know, he's a shill, she's a shill, everybody's a shill. You know, as I've always said, you know, I stand on my own platform, I stand alone. I don't need to spend my time pointing my finger at people and calling them shills. Everybody has a right to exist, you know, and not everybody has all the answers. So, you know, it's a total waste of my time to spend, you know, my time calling people shills and stuff. You know, I can only focus on what's relevant, what the subject is, and, you know, what the truth is, and that's it. And if people are representing that, and people are, you know, dismantling the globe, you know, and pointing out the absurdities and the lies, then, you know, I can only support Not everybody is to everyone else's taste. People don't like me, for whatever reasons. People don't like Eric for whatever reasons. But this is all about your subjective preference. And again, here, if people are making claims or people are telling lies, then I would be the first one to highlight it. So, whatever people's problems are with, individuals, that's something you need to work through. But as far as I can see, it seems to me to be a lot of insecurity within people, and jealousy and whatever else, the usual, traits of the human. But, I would like to think we could progress beyond that crap. So, and as I say, look at people's content. Some people will go with, an AE map or whatever map and model as their representation. And that's fine. I understand why people do that. But here, it's very, very strict on this platform that we don't represent any map and model. We falsify the claim that's made, and that's it. But I still understand why people use things as a reference. And maybe we can discuss that. So, I'm not on Eric's payroll. There is no ulterior motives. There's no agenda. The same agenda with me has always been the same and always will be, is to represent the truth as best as I can, and to keep pushing and to find the truth. And that's it. There is no, agenda between me and anybody else. This is purely a hangout for people who have a common goal, to get together and have a discussion and a chat, and that's exactly what it is. So if you expect an interview and you're here to idolise and whatever else, then you're going to be disappointed. So and I see that there's the usual troll hangouts being set up to leech off the back of this and to, misrepresent people and push whatever agenda they have. Here, I love science. Natural science, things should be observable, measurable, testable, repeatable. If you are making claims about reality, you should be able to scale it and show me it. Right? That's what happens here on this channel. It's no religious, no pseudoscience. There is no dogma. If me claiming that the earth is 70% covered in water, therefore it must be a level plane or a container of some sort, is dogmatic, then fine. But that's based on pure, observable, repeatable reality. It's a fact of life. People, the behaviour, the physics of water are undeniable, and the place is covered in it. So that, and obviously the serious lack of curvature. So there is no religion, there is no dogma, there is no agenda here, like, some of these people will try and make out. But that's their problem. And I know they're listening, because I've seen them, broadcasting live, hanging onto the apron strings of this live event, because these characters will do anything to stay relevant. But, the reality of the situation is anything to do with the globe is now totally irrelevant. It is nonsense. And it is only a matter of time before, it reaches everybody. And hopefully, these people will be brought to justice. And I know many people will be here to, hear Eric. I can only apologise. You haven't to listen to me, but I'm sure people will be along any minute. So I'm going to go to the chat and say hello again. Boakaya. Again, later on, the platform will be opened up to everybody. If you want a link, you can come in and say whatever you want to say, even if you're a globe believer, a concave believer. And that was another one. I seen, the character last night who had put a call out to me to appear on his live event, this concave Christ guy. But he talks to you with total disrespect, with contempt, arrogance, ignorance, and then puts up a hangout demanding that you come there. I mean, if this is no displays of narcissism, narcissistic behaviour, I don't know what is. I don't know about anybody else, but for me personally, I like to gain a bit of respect and trust and get to know people. I certainly wouldn't, verbally attack someone and then in the next hand turn around and invite them into my live show. That's just not how it's done where I'm from. You earn respect. You don't just act like an idiot and then demand that I show up to speak to you. Okay? Now, your concave model, as I've said from the beginning, we could incorporate every model, every aspect, and maybe come up with some sort of truth. I don't rule out the possibility that we live in, inside a sphere, but I will rule out that we live on the inside walls of the sphere. We live on a level plane within whatever, the outer dimensions of this reality are. So I don't rule out, the concavity, but I do rule out that we live on the inside of the walls. It's absolutely preposterous. It's just as ridiculous as a globe. Unless of course somebody can show me some empirical proof. But again, the concave model can't even get by the first hurdle for me, which is, how does it hold water? And it just doesn't. It would all collect at the bottom, the same as the globe. Although in the concave model it could collect at the bottom and house it. On the globe model, unfortunately, it's just going to pour off to the bottom into the infinite vacuum of space. But so, I can entertain concavity. Obviously, there's a certain concavity to it. It's holding the water. It might very well be that we, the full case is a sphere. I've postulated that before. We could be in a sphere that rotates and wobbles. You could just reverse what the globe says. We're in the inside, but on a level plane within it. So don't let any of these charlatans and liars, paint anybody in a certain light. Think for yourself, inquire for yourself, and check out people for yourself. Don't, be swayed by the usual tactics, that we always see of the emotional manipulations and swaying, Oh. Hang on, I've just got a message. It's making me install the same plugin again. Sorry, should be there soon. No problem, Eric. I'm just having a problem with the plugin. So, where was I? At the end of the day, I can logically think, I can assess reality, look at some of the science. And again, we live in pressure. We have these, this vast ocean. It's no beyond any stretch to think that it could be a sphere that we're contained within or anything. But, I certainly think it is a containment of some kind. In order to maintain a pressure, you have to have some sort of sealed unit with maybe inlets, outlet valves. I don't know. I can only go by what, I see in practical reality. So, I don't rule any of these things out, but, I'm going to rule out ridiculous nonsense like living in the inside walls, or we live on a pizza dish, or we live on something with an edge floating in space. These are ridiculous cartoon ideas and images that, whoever have pumped out there and people have adopted. And you also have the opposite, the globe believers who, use it as a straw man, and they generalise and attach it to everyone and think that everybody represents a pizza dish flying through infinite space. So, and again, these people, if they were really sincere, they would come to discussion. But, unlike me, I don't have an agenda to push. I have no beliefs to protect. I have no map and model or any of these things to protect. The only thing I have to protect is the truth, the reality of my situation, which is I don't know. But these people, they seem to have an agenda. They want to push these maps and models as, fact, that that's the way it is, without any real proof for it. So they are the dogmatists. They are the ones with an agenda. You don't get that here. Joan of Worms, how are you? Marshall, I hope we Stuarty boy will appear, Magumba. Joey Furnier. Joey Furnier, everyone drop a like. This is going to be pure gold. Don't be heaping the pressure on here. What are you expecting? It's going to be the same as ever. Just, some guys talking to each other. TLU, there was a college university study that actually revealed, after measuring scientifically, that multiple states like Kansas and Florida are literally flatter than a pancake. You know, I don't doubt it. That's the point, you know. As I say, you know, I'll say it, I keep repeating these things, that you hear so many people talking about instrumentation for measuring. You know, and for me, you know, the water is more accurate than any of these measuring tools that man is inventing or creating. So, you know, I can, you know, these images that NASA show, we can discount all that because we know what observable, testable reality is. It just really doesn't count. Hello, Gav. How are you, man?
Hi, excellent, man. Thanks. You hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah, the house full of guests. Sorry for being a bit late, but
Right.
I see I'm not the only one. So.
Yeah. No, Eric's having a bit of trouble with the plug-in. I think he had a wee problem when I spoke to him earlier, so
Okay.
You'll get it sorted shortly.
Can I cut in, Dale? I've just had somebody, Forbidden 303 in chat, saying that Firefox is no longer supporting the live hangout thing, which I mentioned the other day. I'm having to use Opera. Maybe it's worth suggesting to Eric to switch to Opera as the browser. You don't need a plugin for that, and it should just work.
I'm not sure if he's heard that, so switch to Opera.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I switched to Opera as well, or to another browser here, because Firefox don't do the business no more.
No, there was mixed reports about it the other day, Gav, but the feedback we're getting from chat is that it seems to become universal now. So if we jump on a different browser for a minute, we should be cool.
Sorry, do we need to move? Is that what you were saying there?
No, I mean you're still running, Dale, but anybody that's having trouble needs to bail to Safari or Opera or something different. You know.
Cool. I'm sure he'll get it figured out. I've messaged him there just to say about the Opera, and, you know, in case he's not heard it on this. So aye, Gav, you had a good time, your party, mate, aye?
Aye. Well, I've got a house full of guests still, so.
Expect interruptions then.
Well, I hope that it doesn't get too loud next door. Yeah.
At the mute.
I've got my daughter's birthday, and she's got her friends round. They're sitting in there next door discussing the flat Earth, so just leave them to it for a while.
Excellent. Excellent. So I enjoyed the last one about the you know, the natural perspective.
Aye, good. It's a topic that's interested me now for quite a while, just how all that works and where we went wrong. Do you know what I mean? And understanding it and what to do about it, because you know, when you look at things like perspective geometry, which used to be on the curriculum in schools, you know, they've stopped it now for about 200 years. You know.
Yeah.
It was a complete science in itself, you know, because it, you know, was key to architecture, draftsmanship, you know, navigation, and lots of things were key to learning, you know, about perspective geometry and how it works. It wasn't just artists that were interested in it, you know what I mean? It had a lot of ramifications for the construction industries and everything. But yeah, you don't get taught it anymore, you know.
Yeah.
So I think there's still a, you know, huge confusion out there as to how that actually works, you know. And I said it in my video, you know, I'm fed up looking at all the shite they talk about, you know, the curve and all that stuff about ships disappearing over horizons, and you know, it's pure nonsense, you know. It's all in your eye, you know, and that's where the curve is, you know. So.
Well, that's it. You know, it's the absurdity. You know, a ship going over, you know, convex, curved ocean. You know, we know that to be an absolute absurdity. So when you understand that, then obviously it brings you back to, you know, optics and understanding how the eye works.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the great things about waking up to the fact that it's not what they tell us, because it allows you to take that as the standard. You know, we know it's not right, so you know you can go back and look at other things in a different light, you know. And it allows you to dig deeper and expose these things as well. Things that don't get talked about, information that doesn't get conveyed anymore. Because there must be something there. Otherwise that they wouldn't be lying.
That's it.
So it's a fairly easy logical step to take.
Yeah. But you can see that with the curriculum. We spoke about that before with the trivium, the liberal arts, and why these things are not in the education system, and it becomes pretty apparent very quickly why they're not in the education system, because you can't have critical thinking populists running about the place.
Well, we don't want that, do we?
Not when you're trying to monopolise and manipulate for your own ends, so
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, even so, there's some things, this whole 17th century, where there seems to be most of the shenanigans going on, whether it's this, these same players, but there's also huge movements in mathematics and physics around that time, when you look at all the major players, a big part of that was the so-called Scottish Enlightenment, around the time where there was a lot of these people that had amazing inventions, and a lot of the mechanical world of today is built around what was discovered or created back then, and now it's been I don't know, hijacked. I don't know if that's the right word, but a lot of the stuff is now abstract algebra, group theory, set theory. Mathematics has taken a turn in the direction away from geometry, and that stuff just doesn't get properly connected anymore, so people are just not correctly informed about what it's about, and then it's easy to tell the stories.
That's it. That's it. People don't realise that it is just a language. We've spoke about this before, but it has to correlate to observable reality. You can't come up with mathematical equations and fanciful stories that are in absolutely no way, shape, or form representative of reality. No,
absolutely. I mean, if you remove natural substance, from the whole introspection of mathematics, right? So it's not tied anymore geometrically to nature's forms, to nature's, things, like that we are. And if you remove mathematics and separate it from that, then it has no basis anymore in reality, So, that's I think what they've done in a lot of different subjects. They've taken, nature or us out of the equation, and then it's easy to fill up that gap with nonsense,
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just going to copy this again. Eric's having trouble.
He doesn't have a Magumba. We have a Magumba.
We tried this earlier and it was fine.
Just gremlins in the works.
The usual.
So I'm doing another part to that series as well, So do some more practical examples just to, drive it home. I want that, how should I say, that whole topic put to bed, so to speak. It shouldn't necessarily be able to come up again, I hope, afterwards. And there's a lot of good guys out there doing a lot of excellent stuff. I mean, I can shout out to a few folk. I like what Nick's doing, and people like. Yeah, exactly. People like P-Brain, and there's a few others that I've got it as well, right? And I'm trying to put it on a more academic founding, so that it's not just that people think that it's a bunch of people that don't have a clue, which kind of brings us to that whole point, that I'm looking to, how should I say, push the academics come to the bloody table now and start to look at this thing seriously. I'm fed up with people asserting that we're just a bunch of deluded idiots. Sorry, no way. Not only do we have the whole common sense and mankind behind what we're talking about, but we actually do have qualifications. If that's what people need to hear and need to see, then hey, I've got some. So and if an academic wants to come and talk about it, then fucking come and do it, because it's pissing me off that they think that it can just be ignored, And I'm sure there are people already looking at this, Del, I don't believe for a minute that people aren't looking at it, right? And it's not the paid actor scientists that I want to come, you know. I'm talking about the people who do it in daily life, or who teach our kids, you know, to get their fingers out, look at this topic seriously, and hey, come to any live hangout anytime. You know, we're here waiting to discuss it. So
yeah, and none of this separation of it has to be, you know, some idol. You know, we're past that now. You know, if the common man and real people can't have the discussion and prove things to each other empirically, then, you know, we really should have no interest in it. The time for that for me is gone. You know, it's that whole kind of religious structure, you know, where, you know, it's these priestly-like figures who, you know, will dictate and give you the answers, and, you know, the common man is just too little and knows, you know, is not clever enough to understand, when it's ridiculous. You know, people need to start getting rid of that attitude. And as you say, I mean, hopefully, you know, there is some academics out there, you know, that will come forward. I mean, even if they think, you know, they can come and counter what we're saying, by all means, you know, bring it. Yeah. But I'm like you, you know, tired of this dragging on, and the waiting, and people hiding in the shadows, and people protecting their own wee piece of the pie. You know, you're going to be shamed into it. You know, it doesn't matter, you know, because people like us are not going to stop.
No, absolutely not, man. No chance. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, I can understand. I'm not even sure I can understand, but I know that, you know, a lot of people will be saying, well, I better not get involved in this because, you know, I won't get my research grant, or I won't get my money to do this or to do that, you know. But even that, the time's passed, huh? You know, sorry, guys, you know, that's the way it is. Huh? It has to be now, and this is the time to do it. So they should stop worrying about all that shite and change the game, huh? Because otherwise it'll just keep on going the same old crap. Huh?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just back to Eric. I had a missed call, but I can't answer the call when I'm on another hangout. Technical difficulties. Kind of expected it.
You want me to drop off and see if I can help him?
If you want me, aye.
Or maybe Marshall's already doing it. Huh? Don't want to.
No, Gav. I mean, that's probably a credible idea, dude. To see if you can steer him into Opera and firing up through there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go and do that. Never met the man,
cool.
so might as well do it now. Okay, I'll just drop out and dial back in a minute then. Try and reach him.
Nice one, dude.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening because, you know, as far as people are concerned, Eric's in the CIA and all this, so why are the CIA not helping to sort out the link? Seems like real person issues.
Yeah, in that respect, we should be getting you know, full high definition streaming, shouldn't we? Yeah.
Saying it just keeps making him start his own hangout. So I'm not sure how to resolve that.
He must be using. That's what happens if you try using Firefox with that link.
Right.
So he's got to drop out and use a different browser.
Yeah. Hang on. Is it the Firefox?
Firefox is the problem at the moment. Yeah.
He's not using Firefox. He knows that. The only thing I can say is Gav is going to maybe try and help to sort it out.
Well, I mean, what's marginally suspicious is that, I mean, you know, you've had some communication with him today, and the link was fine, and as soon as we're live, then all of a sudden there's a problem. That.
Well, as I say, you know, I expected the gremlins to start, so.
Maybe it's down to Stevie. He has been cursing us in the chat box.
Oh, well, I was cursed again last night. You know?
He's had to go and sit in the corner, I'm afraid. Yeah.
So we can only apologise, people, for the technical difficulties. We'll see if we can get it resolved. So Gavin's away to see if he can help.
You know, Martin's suggesting a reboot of the Hangout, but at this point, if everybody else has got a clean link, then that's not going to help us, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, you know. We're going to have these problems, so we can only go with it. See what happens. I'm sure we'll get it resolved at some point. But I mean, you know, as Gav was saying, you know, any academics or people who think they've got something to offer, you know, it would be great for you to come forward. You know, real people are here waiting, you know, tired of the bullshit. It's just not going to wash anymore. And as I said to people before, it doesn't matter to me now, you know, what space institutions and what images they produce, you know, they're never going to trump natural physics. I know that it's not what they tell me it is, and it doesn't matter what images they now produce. So, sorry, bear with me 2 seconds. Aye, so I can only apologise, people, if you're just here. We're having some technical issues. We're hoping we can get it resolved, and Eric will join us shortly. But until then, I'm just going to waffle as usual and see what's happening in the chat. Oh, we got a bit of troll activity as well. There's a surprise. Name of Gavin's channel, please. We'd like to see his videos. It is Vortex Puppy. I really need to start linking everybody who comes on into the description box. It's my bad. And the same with the messages. The messages have just got so many. It's really difficult in my situation to sit and have the time to respond to them all. Nicole Jones, no papers needed. We are all scientists, exactly. And that's the attitude we need to have. Well, I don't care who has what after their name. They'll be treated the same as everybody else. And for me, it comes right down to, you know, every aspect of my life, even as a child. You know, people would make fanciful stories and I would ask to see or have proof. And if they can't provide me with that, then, you know, I know that it's just a story. So, in regards to reality, you might have an expertise in a certain field, but in regards to the objective world that we all share, you know, we are all scientists. It's up to us all to observe and partake in this if we want the questions answered. Sorry, Marshall, you going to say something there?
No, dude. As always, I'm distracted in the chat box, just keeping up with what's going on. So it's a lot quieter without Stevie running off at the mouth. I know that.
Well, that's it. I'm just reading spectacles. People hating. I know how that goes. Don't forget the liars and nutters. Well, you know, why are people hating on each other? That's the whole point about this subject. It's about the objective world. It's not about whose personality you prefer, you know, or who done what in their own personal private life. It's about who's bringing what to the table in regards to the whole question, you know. I'm not interested in who you are in your personal life. I can only go with the content you offer me in regards to this whole question, and that's it. I've said it before, if you're looking for the manipulators and the players, look at these people who continue to focus on nothing but persons, you know, and that includes the ones who are watching right now and running their live shows, you know, off the back of this. You You misrepresent people. You tell lies. You're not offering anything to the discussion. You know, you make out that people are religious crackpots, this, that, and the next thing, when really it's not the case. I'm just the same as everybody else. I believed I lived on a globe for 37 years of my life, and it was a belief. I believed it. It was blind faith because I had never really looked at it. And when I did look at it with a critical mind, you know, it didn't take long for me to see that it was absolutely preposterous, an absurdity that I'm now glad to be rid of. So I'll look at the globe and everything that it done as a cult. And I am now an ex-cult member of the globe. So stop focusing on people as a person. You know, it's an objective question. It's got nothing to do with who we are personally. Right? The very fact that you've got nothing to offer tells me everything. Oh, hello, mate. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, man. Nice one.
Excellent.
Oh,
I had
cool,
to
Aaron.
download
Glad you can make it,
Opera.
mate.
Hey, thanks. Sorry about this. We did a practice call with Internet Explorer. I knew Firefox wasn't working, so I downloaded this plugin, and then when I redid the link for the live show, it kept giving me an error, making me download the plugin again, and then having me start my own hangout. So yeah, I've just had me download Opera, and so now I'm on Opera, and everything seems to be doing all right.
Yeah, well, no surprise there.
I'm back, guys. These young digital natives, they need these old people that still can play with punch cards to help them. Yes, so.
Sorted.
Oh, sorted. Good. Hi, Eric.
Hey, all. Good to see you.
So you know Marshall, Gav. You know, I'm not sure if Ali's going to appear or Rob. But I was going to give you the whole. You familiar with the Austin Powers films?
Familiar with what?
Austin Powers, the movies. Austin Powers. No.
Yeah, definitely.
I was going to introduce you as that. You know, I give to you the very sensual, the very tight Austin Powers Faja. Never worked out like that. You know? Technical difficulties, no problem. So, yeah, I'm glad you could make it, man. As I was saying to people, you know, I think people thought it was just going to be an interview, but no, not the case.
Format, just hanging out and discussing proofs and not taking any nonsense. I like that you take all comers, but that you don't veer the discussion way off course into la la land like they're always trying to do, and you keep it back to, as you say, observable, repeatable science, and that's exactly what people should be doing. That's why I support you, and I think more people should be doing the style of activism that you're doing. I think it's excellent.
Cheers, mate. Cheers. And that was good. It was good to see that, you know, that you supported the activism. That tells me a hell of a lot about people, you know. And if people are really serious, then we need activism, you know. Standing still, just chatting, chatting to the choir is not going to get us anywhere, is it? So.
Yeah, well, we got the choir singing pretty loudly now. Everybody's going to have to turn around and pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I just love about the activism too is the people you meet. I mean, not only is it a real, how should I say, a real meeting between two human beings instead of it all being online, but you do notice that you don't have all these characters that you have online, huh? You know, you just have real people, the way the way we all know real people, right? And that makes the whole, I don't know, the whole encounter much nicer. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you have to be a bit more civil in person. People are going to treat you better than as a faceless YouTube account when they can just kind of say whatever comes into their subconscious. In a face-to-face interaction, people aren't going to be quite so brazen.
I think that plays a part on people, though. I think they would know that, you know, that can sway people and stop them from actually, you know, going out and being active with the public because they're so scared of that type of reaction. And we have heard it from people, you know, they've got that apprehension. But really, when you just take the plunge and you go out, you see how, you know, willing people are to have that discussion with you and, you know, be open to the possibilities, you know. It's great.
Yeah, well, yeah, especially when you present it the way you're doing, which I commend you for, Del. The way that you bring this up, like I said, the way that you stick to these few really solid points, the levelness of volatility of water to conform to the exterior of a shape, the impossibility that there can be a positive and a negative pressure system existing side by side without a barrier in between. You bring up these actual scientific points with people, and when they try to go off into, yeah, but what about the rotation of the stars going this way? It's like, no, we're talking about the Earth here. We can talk about the stars, and of course there's legitimate flat Earth explanations for absolutely everything, including the way the stars rotate. But point being that people, instead of sticking to your arguments and the science that you're presenting to them, they want to go off into these other things where they can, in their mind, keep believing the lie. But if and that's what they want to do, it's their natural tendency. So, well, but what about, don't toilets spin the opposite way in hemispheres? All these things that they've heard, and you gotta give them the refutations, sure, but you also gotta always bring the conversation. You gotta take control of the conversation, is what I'm saying, because these globe heads, they're always trying to take control of the conversation and take you into all these irrelevant topics. And what you do really well, and what I wanted to bring attention to, is that you don't let them do it. You're very polite about it, you're nice about it, you address the points that they bring up, but then you bring it right back to, okay, but let's talk about these actual solid scientific points that I'm bringing up. And that's the way that people need to do it if they're approaching people in the street or friends and family. I think a lot of people get railroaded by friends and family who take this kind of approach where they'll just go, well, what about this and that and this and that? And you weren't necessarily ready to answer every single objection that your relatives would be able to come up with. And you don't have to. You can, if you don't know an answer yet, that's fine. You can bring it back, and should bring it back to these things that they absolutely can't explain away, like the level horizon always rising to the eye of the observer, and the levelness of water, and all these things we're talking about, because they're not going to be able to explain those away. And that's what, like you said, we're not here to debate, and that's what I like about your platform. You're not a debate platform. You're open to discussion with everyone, but you have to agree upon some fundamental tenets of observation, of reality, of our experience, before you can even continue to have a conversation. Otherwise, you're just going in circles. And you elucidate that really well. So I'm just repeating what you tell people every week, but that's what I like about your channel and what you're doing.
All right, cheers, man. Thanks, I appreciate that, mate. But that's it. For me, I had to, especially, I sharpened my swords against, yourself, the groups on Facebook, the globe trolls, whatever they are. So you could see, all the angles that they were coming at, and trying to distract and turn it into something that it's not. And for me, I whittled it down to, what is the points that are just undeniable, that are real, scientific, that everybody can test and observe. And that was it for me, was the points you raised. So I sharpened my tools against these characters, and I can only appreciate them for that, but
that's praise.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, I'm exactly the same. I mean, I'm also coming at it from a philosophical angle that you have to get past first base. You have to agree in first principles of reasoning with people, right? And they have to understand that if you don't have that fundamental agreement about the very first things in nature, then you can't go on and talk about all other things. So yeah, it's definitely part of the clue, Eric, is to not let them get past first base, because you can't start a hypothesis arguing against the facts. You can only take facts and then go on and make hypotheses, not the other way around. It's just bad science, huh? If you do it the other way.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it's unconscious and subconscious. It's not like they're purposely trying to veer the conversation off into all these other areas. A lot of times that's just what comes up when I was first researching this stuff. You've got all these things that you learned in school that you thought were, and you hear refutation, a better explanation, that keeps popping up in the back of your head every time you're hearing this new information. So it's only natural for them to do that. And so, yeah, we want to have as many answers for them as we can, but also for their own sake, bring them back to these points so that they don't get caught up in their speculations and, oh, what about this, what about that? Well, bring them back down to earth, so to speak. Bring them back to the flat earth proofs. If they're talking about, well, what about the sun and the moon and the other planets? They're spheres or something like that. Of course, it's a fallacy to think that you can look at something in the sky and say that it has relevance to what's under your feet. But that's all it takes. All they had to do was say that those are planets up there and this is a planet under your feet. And people are like, well, they use the same word for that, so that's a proof, right?
That's it. And that is a lot.
I still to this day, that's it's one of the main comments I get. Of course, the good reputation of is a basketball on a basketball court mean that the court is a sphere and all these things. Of course not. It's a logical fallacy, but people don't think that way. They've been thinking along the lines of what they've been told, and they've been told that they live on a planet, and they've been told that the wandering stars, which are just little flashing lights in the sky, are actually big ball planets like the one we supposedly live on. The fantasy myths have been woven so well. It's an art form to unweave, to unlearn for people, to get them to awaken to this. It really is. I've gotten better at over time.
It's embedded also in the language, it's very deep as well in the language, how words are used to, if you like, manipulate those, mind ideas that people have, and how, two words, sometimes there's not a word for what you want to say, and then other times there's 5 words for the same thing, or they're identified or equated at least, so yeah, it's very difficult, and people flee to their comfort zone, which is why I think, oh, well, wait a minute, this water thing's a bit difficult for me. Let's go back to the sky because, I feel comfortable there, mentally comfortable, because it's what I learned. And so I agree. It's not deliberate by people. It's just the way we've been conditioned to think. Yeah. Yeah,
as I say, people they're not educated in grammar, logic, rhetoric, so they don't really understand these things. And when you're saying words like sophism and you're trying to explain to people, they've taken clever argumentation and implemented that, and that's all they really have done. It's like looking at the sky, oh, look at water in the vomit comet. As long as they can implant the image in somebody's mind, look, water does behave like this, that's what people need. But then you're trying to say, look, that's not a representation of reality. That's in a contrived condition. That's no, you can't observe it in nature. But, it's so hard for people just to move beyond the imagery, and especially nowadays, society is so strongly rooted in image-based, experience. So, it's a intricate weave of a web, So, but, it's great. It's been good fun picking it apart. And when you understand it, you can simply pull it apart, As I say, it comes right down to, as I always say, show me. And if you're not showing me, then we've got an issue,
Yeah, get the pink unicorns out, Dale.
They don't see how, it's the similarities. You guys have seen it as well the last 10, 15 years, the whole push of, new age atheism and, science. You go, right, fine, so I'm going to pull you on your science, but let's deal with natural science. Let's separate and understand what they really are. Now, and if you get them with that, as I've done in the street, employing that kind of same tactic, you get them to agree on that. Do you agree? And you give them an example of like religion and, well, show me your God. Oh, I can't, he's too big for your mind and blah, blah, blah. Well, show me, how water can conform to the exterior of a sphere. Oh, I can't, I need a big planet in outer space. It's the exact same thing. It's an excuse. It just doesn't wash with me. But they fail to see the similarities in it,
I'm with you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we're conditioned to see the same thing. I mean, it's the same as the the infinite expanse of space and nothingness is also the same. We're told the same story when it gets smaller and smaller as well. When we go down into molecules and atoms, then there's more space there than there are atoms, and a chair is just made up mostly of empty space, but you can still sit on it. So as far as I'm concerned, a lot of it's just the same stories, pre-packaged in different ways to confound us more than anything else.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, there is an objective reality there,
I can sit in that chair. Absolutely, man.
And if I smack you over the head with the chair, it's going up.
I'll fucking smack you back.
Regardless of whether you believe in the chair or not, you know, it's going to hurt.
Aye, definitely.
If the stars rotate the other way in the southern hemisphere, does it still hurt?
Oh, that's the ridiculous stuff you get from it, isn't it? You know, my hairdryer works. How does that work in a flat earth? You know, how does my lighter work on a flat earth? I mean, some of the stuff these people come up with is bonkers, man, honestly.
We were talking, Eric, we were talking earlier about, you know, some of the main points that, you know, bring people, like whether it's water or not. What was your first, you know, your very first revelation? What was the first thing that got you? Was it water as well, or was it something else?
Well, I first read Sammy Rowbotham's Zetetic Astronomy book. That was the first flat Earth thing, Flat Earth Society. That was the first thing I ever looked at, which turned me off from the subject for a while. And then I read Sammy Rowbotham's book, so that was my introduction to it. I just thought it was fascinating, and it's made so much sense. But you know, without having an update for the next 100+ years from what he was saying, and nothing that made sense contemporaneously, because the Flat Earth Society has their stupid gravity, flat Earth disk rising argument, and other things that don't make any sense. So I wasn't seeing any modern flat earthers out there. But I read William Carpenter's book after that, and started reading some of the others, and then it became more and more apparent. It was a pretty slow process for me. I mean, it was a quiet process. I didn't talk to anybody. I was just reading books and just in my own head going back and forth, thinking about how much sense what I'm reading makes. But at the same time, just like we're talking about these unconscious and subconscious things, I mean, I'm just as bad as your average globe head, if not worse, because I knew all the globe model points, you know, and they were in the back of my head the whole time I was reading those old books, and they don't the points. So it took a lot of digging for me to answer all the questions in my own head. It was completely obvious, and it's like, whoa, you look back on the process of figuring it all out, and it's funny because now it's just like clear as day. Of course the earth is flat and motionless. There's no way possible. Every single point you were ever taught that says it was a spinning ball is complete subterfuge nonsense, and there's absolute valid refutations to all of them. It's easy for you to say that journey, but while you're in the dark forest of figuring out the earth you actually live on, it can be quite a journey. And especially for me, back in, you know, I read Rowbotham's book in 2008 or 2009, I think, and I sat on it for a while. I didn't make a decision. I kind of was like, well, it makes a lot of sense, and I can't refute those points, but there's also these other globe points that I can't necessarily refute, so I don't know. I was content to say I don't know, and I got more into geocentrism, and I wrote about that and the Atlantean conspiracy, because that, to me, seemed to be more provable, and I made a firm stance that that was the case, that whatever we live on, it's the center of the universe, and everything's revolving around us. And after doing more research, I found that it's also a level plane and not at all a sphere.
Yeah.
Or pear.
Sorry, it was more the how should I say, the conglomeration of all the individual things then, and not nothing, you know, in particular, was it?
Right, but to go back to your original question, yeah, the levelness of water and the horizon being flat and always rising to the eyes, those have always been my two favorite go-tos. But I really like the other one, which how water doesn't conform to the exterior of a shape. It's such a great point, because how could it be a pear or a oblate spheroid or a sphere,
or a cube,
or, you know, or any shape? Right? I mean, you can't put a triangle or a square or something underwater and then have that square shape or that triangle shape suddenly appear on the surface of the water. So how could we be living on a ball, oblate, or pear-shaped Earth that does that? I mean,
That's it.
Scientifically ridiculous and philosophically just completely ridiculous anyway, which all of us knew as a child. When you first, I remember when I first heard in school that the Earth was a ball and it was spinning, I made a clear distinction in my head then that what I was going to learn from now on wasn't as concrete as everything I'd been learning before that, because it was very early on and all we'd really learned was English, reading, writing the alphabet, math, basic arithmetic, addition, subtraction, stuff like that, which made perfect sense. But then we got into the ball Earth, completely contrary to anything I could experience. I remember looking out the window and just being like, it doesn't make sense, but you know, the teacher's telling me, went home to my parents, they said it was the case. And so you just kind of like, all right, I guess that's what it is. But what that really is as a child, that's you starting to accept authority instead of evidence in your education.
Exactly.
I'm getting it. So, are you guys hearing that? Is that just me?
It's coming and going. There's a wee bit of disturbance with it, but it's all right. I can hear.
Add it a little bit as well, but yeah, it's okay now, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, maybe just one thing about you know, so when I started to look at it, there's a lot of information out there about, you know, how heliocentrism and geocentrism are basically mathematically equivalent. You know, that it's very difficult, if you like, to tell the difference between the two. So I think when I started to look, it definitely was water that you know swung me round, if you know what I mean. I grew up in a little fishing village in the west coast of Scotland, and there's actually a saying down there that if it's a really nice day and there's no wind, then the water is a flat calm. Yeah. You know, that's the way they say it. It's a wonderful flat calm today, you know, and that's me, my best West Highland accent. And you know, when you start to really, you know, it's like a sheet of water is what they'll say, you know, like actually comparing a sheet of glass to a sheet of water and using water as the thing that they talk about, you know. And when you see all these kind of things that people use in their daily life, you know, it just brings it straight back home to you, you know, that water is level, cannot conform to shapes, and that, you know, that has to be the case, if you know what I mean. And that's the one that tips it over towards, yeah, it is flat, motionless, and we're at the center of stuff and not the other way around, you know.
Yeah. The majority of the confusion, though, and the doubt is because of the images, and that is, again, you know, people are just so swayed. If we removed, you know, these space agencies, what would they have? You know, they would have nothing, absolutely nothing, you know. So they had to contrive, you know, these deliberate deceptive arguments and played on optics, and that was it for me. You know, when it came right down to it, the most solid proof for me was the water. You know, it's a natural element. How can we argue with that? You know, if I can do it in a small scale, you know, and just keep scaling up my bathtub to a swimming pool, to a lake, to a lock, to the physical laws and the behaviours are not going to change at some unspecified, you know, scale. You know, it's ridiculous. So I was the same. I went through the emotional process, but I knew right away, going back to childhood, when they're saying to you about the oceans, and that would be on your mind. You're going, how, you know, the water would fall off the bottom, but I'll just ignore my rational, logical mind because everybody else is saying it's a globe, so therefore I'm wrong, you know. But you say you look back now and you can see it so clearly. You know? But Ali, how you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah, how you doing?
How's it going?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, sound. All right, Eric, how you doing, mate?
Very good. Good to see you, Alan.
Yep. Thanks very much for opening my eyes up. You were the sort of first guy I sort of looked at, so cheers for that. You sent me off on a wild fucking journey.
Absolutely. Same goes for me too. Yeah.
Right, but I want to ask you what I liked about the way you done it was when you started getting into the you know, the Eastern side of the sciences, you know, the hidden sciences, the you know, how that's kind of, that's where the science kind of started from, and then it's kind of travelled over to the West here. and we've kind of lost, or they've kind of poo-pooed all the energies and stuff like that, yeah? Yet they seem to have replaced it with these mystical forces. And like if you know, this, all these, you know, antimatter, you know, anti-neutrons, anti-everything, it just seems to me that they're just using the old esoteric, hermetic, you know, science of the old days, you know, like what you talk about, like the Egyptian times and the old Vedic times and that. So I was just wondering if you'd noticed, or what your opinion of that was, kind of.
Positive and negative, yeah. Black holes, black matter, like Gav was talking about, the blank space between the elements in quantum physics. It's like a science of nothingness.
Yeah.
But at the ultimate levels, I think that that's as far as you're going to get, because ultimately the physical world comes from the non-physical, comes from consciousness. And so consciousness is a priori. This is exactly metaphysically what the all earth Big Bang deception does, is it changes you from a spiritual consciousness based perspective and brings you into perspective where there doesn't need to be anything non-material in existence whatsoever, and everything is tried to be explained by material, by a big bang of material stuff that just comes out and then through random evolution creates everything. And so with that explanation, you're able to satisfy the nagging doubt in your brain that there may be something spiritual about this life, because you've got a perfect physical material explanation. So this is another subtle thing that the whole indoctrination does to people, is it removes them from their spiritual core, from consciousness, from, you know, like the Eastern teachings basically say that if you try to figure out who you are, you're going to find out that you're not your body, because your body dies, and every cell in your body regenerates every 5 to 7 years. So there's nothing remaining there, yet you have this feeling of I am at the center of you that never changes since you were a child. You remember it, and that thing is there. And so you think, well, what is that? Is that my brain? Well, it's not the brain. It's not the physical matter of the brain. It's not even the mind, or your thoughts, because the thoughts just come in of their own accord. And so if you meditate or do things of that nature where you just sit and observe thought, you realize that what you are at the core is the observer, or the consciousness, the awareness. You're not the mind, you're not the body, you're consciousness. And so that's what we all are at the root of everything. And that's what is, if you wanted to define God, the most accurate word in the English language I like to use is consciousness, or some variation of consciousness, ultimate consciousness, infinite consciousness, the original consciousness, the one objective consciousness, or the omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient consciousness. And this thing would be the thing that pre-exists the material world and would be infinite. If infinity is an actual thing, this consciousness would be it. And it is the same at the center of all of us. If I was born Del or Gav or anyone else and experienced every single thing in the way that they did, my mind, my consciousness would be perceiving through their mind, their thoughts. But that consciousness is the same. So we're all the same at the root of it. We all have that same I am and I am not feeling. And I would say that that's like the illusion, the maya, as they call it in Eastern philosophy, that we're living in, is that believing that we are this subjective packet of consciousness, rather than knowing that we're actually the one present, omnipotent, omniscient being that they refer to as God. That would be what we all come from. But as God, what do? The only thing you can do as the all-powerful being that has all potentiality, well, you got to manifest something. So you manifest a physical world of duality, of opposites, and you even place things like a sun and moon above them to show us this yin-yang of reality, so that we know that we're living in this duality, this illusion of duality. But as we, if you sit in meditation, like I said, you shut off your thoughts and you just become the awareness, you can get back to that spot of Advaita, or non-duality. And that they use the negative of duality to describe it. Yeah, the oneness. Yeah, different people catch on to it different ways. Sometimes if you negate duality, it makes more sense to people, or if you call it a singularity. But again, they've taken these things and materialized them. So they've taken the singularity and turned that into the Big Bang, or they've even called it the Big Crunch or something, and they've got another singularity at the other end of time. So they take these legitimate spiritual concepts and then they physicalize or materialize them so that they become part of their materialist philosophy that they've been trying to push.
I totally agree. You know, that's the way I see it. You know, even before the whole, you know, questioning the earth, you were looking at the creationism, evolution debates, and you know, if you dig deep enough, you discover, especially with guys like Rupert Sheldrake, you know, talking about, you know, philosophical materialism, and that's the premise and the stance they go from. You know, it's only going to go one way. You're constantly trying to find stories to back up your premise that you started from. And as I say, for me, you know, it was just to remove, it has to be mind at the forefront. You know, again, it comes down to, well, show me non-living matter producing life and producing consciousness and all these things. You know, you can't. What we observe here in reality is that, you know, mind takes an action, something happens. Without that, nothing's happening. You know,
absolutely. The sense that arm cells know to make an arm, and leg cells know to make a leg, and pear cells know how to grow into a pear. And when scientists look at them under a microscope, no matter how physically you know, dissect these different things, you don't get to the plan, which is totally non-physical. The plan, meaning what Rupert Sheldrake, who you mentioned, calls the morphogenic field, or the morphogenic resonance of different objects, or Plato even talked about as being forms. There are forms in nature, and then every example of the form is a non-perfect example of it. It's always different in the sense that there's always different types of trees, different types of rocks, or whatever, and you classify them, but there's no two that are actually the same. So the actual classifications are an abstraction as well. This is one thing I talked about in Asbestos Head, how you can know that we are really all one. When you break down language, you see that we've made names for trees and people and rocks and all this thing, but there are no two people, no two trees, no two rocks, which are exactly alike. So any classification, even the noun that we're using to divide reality, is an abstraction. And so the one true reality would be everything, which includes me, you, this rock, that would be the one true thing that is in existence. But how do you talk about it? You're part of it. It's always manifesting it all the time.
And you can't study it either.
Yeah, right. Language is an abstraction. You can only drop acid and experience it.
Yeah, that's it. Or take mushrooms.
Just one comment from me here from a mathematical perspective. So, you know, infinite and zero are two concepts that I don't, you know, agree with. Basically, you know, if you're talking about infinity, then, you know, even to count to infinity would entail an infinite amount of time and an infinite amount of energy. And both of these things to me are absurd, huh? Because, you know, at least I can't imagine it. And I think people who do try and imagine it or think they imagine it are just imagining themselves imagining it, but they're not actually thinking about it, yeah? And zero is the same concept. Right. You know, if there's zero, if there's nothing there, then there's nothing to talk about as far as I'm concerned, you know? And if you look at nature, then these two things don't exist, right? I've never seen an infinite tree, and I've never seen a zero tree, yeah? And if you look at leaf patterns, for example, then they all hinge around the one. So, you know, when you look at the logarithmic leaf patterns that are created by nature, then, you know, the concept of zero and the concept of infinity, you know, don't exist, huh? Built around the one. So, but sorry, I just wanted to throw that in because I know it's, you know, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I'm not fully there. You know, I don't know enough about Eastern philosophy to be able to form a good opinion. But yeah, without the mind and the consciousness, then, you know, the body can't function. So it's definitely a priori, no doubt about that.
It's just they put a label on it. They made it into matter. They just made the mind was matter. There was nothing or chemical or whatever. So there was no consciousness there, and that's what I think science has done. It's taken away the fact that we can actually sit down and think, and as Eric says, a bit of contemplation about certain things, maybe contemplate what they're actually telling us, or, you know, contemplate everyday life instead of, you don't have to contemplate great things, you know, just contemplate the day you've had. And
well, they've went all out trying to play down consciousness. You see it with the kind of, as I said earlier, the New Age atheists, the four horsemen. Guys, Rob, you need to turn YouTube down, mate. They went all out trying to play down consciousness. You see it with the kind of, as I said earlier, the New Age atheists, the four horsemen. You know, guys like Dan Dennett, just to make that point, you know, I remember him talking to Stuart Hammeroff. I've said this before, and Dan Dennett will say, you know, oh, consciousness is an illusion. It's a higher, you know, it's a coping mechanism for higher brain functions. And, you know, and Stuart Hammeroff stumps him right away, and he goes, you know, well, who's experiencing the illusion? You know, what is it that's experiencing? If your consciousness is an illusion, what is it that's experiencing it? You know, I mean, there's absolutely no way around it for them, you know. But you can see the push, what they've tried. For me, you know, they tried to remove, you know, intelligent design or any kind of thoughts of that matter. You hear people saying they tried to hide God and remove God, but for me, I think, you know, remove the process, and you on that avenue of contemplating design and, you know, being a part of something, because obviously it's going to lead, and that's the way I feel, you know, exploration would maybe lead us to discover, you know, great things about who we are and how this came to be, you know. But they have been hell bent on pushing us the opposite, as far as I can see, anyway. You know?
Yeah, I think we should be more intent on exploring ourselves rather than exploring what's about there, and I think we'd come to a, you know, we'd solve things a bit quicker.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. Hi, Rob, you all right?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Robbie.
Hi, Al. Hi, Eric.
Hey, Rob.
Hi, Eric. Rob here.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to say that, Christ, about 3 years ago, I just watched one of your videos, and within about 30 seconds, I knew, fuck's sake, I've been lied to, you know, and I knew it was flat then. And and now I'm here, you know. And one of the points I thought was that you mentioned was very good, that, you know, from the, you know, Flat Earth Horizon, the stuff that Dell got organized, looking at water, you know, that, I think that's just magic how it's managed to get us all here now, you know. But you started it for me, you know.
Yeah, man, Dell's doing an excellent job. I love this channel. I listen to all the shows.
Yeah, and I'll get back to you on the music, okay?
Cool.
But I think this oneness is definitely something we should be looking at.
Yeah. That's great to see people coming together. It really is good. It's been a long time coming, but it's something that needs to happen, I think, you know. Yeah. So have you got a music thing planned? Have you another music thing happening, Eric?
What are you doing, Rob? I've been working on some. I got a music maker program, and I've been making some different music. I made the music for my Gravity is Just Density video.
Yeah.
Just put out. I'm doing some other stuff with it. Just kind of having fun in my off time and trying to make it relevant to to what I'm doing here.
Yeah, yeah. I've been writing music for about 30 years now, but and I'm just going through a backlog of some of my older songs. And there's one or two that are definitely going to fit what we are all doing now. And they're going to be pretty good. And some of them are going to be using some of your lyrics.
Okay, cool.
And it's nearly finished. I probably need another couple of days still. But it's worth the wait.
We need a band-aid for Flat Earth, you know, like the Live Aid thing.
Well, actually, what will also be quite good is getting, let's say, Beyond the Imaginary Curve band out on the road. You know, and that would be a good living. You can, Ali, you can play guitar too. You can sing. You know, Dell.
Oh, well, that's debatable.
Dell will be the lead. Dell's going to be the lead guitarist. You know, he's probably the best. He's the best at lead for the lot of us.
I am up for that.
I'm
I
the
think
lead singer.
a live aid, and we
You
can all
can't
have.
sing, man. Come on.
We
No,
can
your
all-
whole family's talented. The whole family, absolutely amazing. I spent a great time down there, guys. It was amazing. Brilliant family.
No, but Ali, you know what I was
Brilliant.
thinking? You know, like a big show, and Eric as well. You know, a big show with, you know, all musicians that want to take part in it. We can have you know, big screens in the background. You know, we can have little talks and presentations in between, and then mix with songs. You know, and basically tour. Coming to a village hall near you soon. You know, I mean, dreams start from small ideas. You know, and can make big
That's it.
differences.
5 guys and a dog. 5 guys and a dog.
I can see a cover version of Feed the World coming. We'll change the lyrics to, you know, tell the world it's not a globe.
Aye, the globe.
Yeah.
Aye, the globe's a lie. Globe is a lie. There you go. There's one.
Like anybody that doesn't believe it, anybody that looks at it, this is what gets me. Anybody that actually really looks into this, you know, once you really look into it, you can never go back to believing. I mean, you're just lying to yourself if you go back to, you know, believing in it. You know.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the.
In my opinion, I could never go back. You know.
No, and I think Eric made a nice picture. Once you go flat, you can't go back. I mean, we're telling everybody this. You know, it's a catchphrase now, Eric.
It's the chorus. It was the chorus of my first rap song.
And cool. But that's what I'm thinking. That's what the thing that gets me is with the science is I kind of believe that the science has been driven specifically just to do away with, you know, they seen a big awakening coming. You know, people were getting pissed off of being controlled and stuff like that. I think religion was losing its hold, and then science came along, and it seemed to all kind of happen in the 1700s. Around that time, after Newton's time, there seemed to be a big push. And all the old stuff was dragged up, you know, all the oldies, all the old favourites and that got brought back out. And I think that was basically
him doing the damage control with like Kyrie Irving coming out, and then immediately the next Monday, Neil deGrasse Tyson is on Joe Rogan's show talking about Earth, and that week the whole buzz from NASA was that they'd found 7 more Earth-like planets, and so they got more CGI going out to hypnotize the already brainwashed public, so they won't listen to any of the basketball players coming out telling them otherwise.
That's it.
Yeah, what did you think of that, actually, Eric? Do you think that was just you know, this basketball? Do you think it was a genuine come out, or do you think it was, you know, made up?
I kind of think they were genuine, because there's several of them, and the way that they went about it seemed like they just wanted to use their platform to bring some attention to it, and they knew they weren't going to try and defend it and get everyone all, you know, throwing debating and all this kind of thing, but they just wanted to challenge people's worldview, and they themselves were talking about how astonished they were at the reaction they were getting from just saying this one thing, and look at how it's the only thing the reporters want to talk about now and all that. And I also noticed that B.O.B., the rapper that made an album, he came out of hiding for, you know, he hasn't done anything about it other than them. And then that same week, after Kyrie Irving and everyone came out about it, B.O.B. goes on a radio show, and you guys can see for yourself, but I think he did a terrible job representing the flat earth to the point that I can barely believe that he was genuinely answering those questions. And the disparagement between his lyrics, which were quite good. He's done a lot of good conspiracy, flat earth, and other topics lyrics. And the way that he behaved in that interview, and the way that he answered or didn't answer questions, was really disappointing, and just totally made me question.
What show was that, Eric? Sorry for interrupting there, mate. What show was that?
I don't know the show. If you type in B.O.B. Flat Earth, it should come up, because it's literally the only thing he's done publicly about it other than his album. So I don't know whether it's intentional, whether he, you know, it's been a plant all along, or whether he's been gotten to, and that's why he's turned it turned into a completely inarticulate, you know, representative of the flat earth, even though his album, he's able to be incredibly articulate while rhyming in time. So it's just really
that's
odd to see that.
That's the problem I see.
Discrepancy.
You know, that's the problem that gets me. You know, and they always, as you were pointing out earlier, Eric, you know, don't let them away with it. When I watch these people and I see the thing, you just wish you were in that position. You know, and you're going, why are these wishy-washy characters sitting in that position? Do you know what I mean? If it was me, I'd be like, no, fuck you. You know, let's get back to the point here and, you know, really hammer them on it. But they just don't seem, you know, whether it's, you know, they've just tipped on it and it's something that they've jumped on board with and never really gave it any other thought. I mean, you've got to remember, these people are sitting with, you know, a huge amount of wealth. You know, they've got so many other distractions that they can be getting on with in their life. They might not be as committed to it as the likes of myself. You know, I don't know, but you know, I don't lend any credence to any of these characters because they don't represent me. And anytime I hear them speaking, you know, I just get let down with the attitude they have and what they actually say. You know, so aye, I'm the same.
Most of them are
people that want to get into, right.
Sorry.
If you want to get into activism, just do your own thing. You know, start putting out good content that you agree with, and don't worry about the whole, you know, shill show or the community or whatever you want to call it. And I think the genuine voices will eventually merge together, and the disingenuous voices will start to fall off by the wayside anyway, as long as everybody just focuses on themselves and on their own way of doing this kind of activism.
Yeah, spot on.
Focused. Keep focused, man.
Always say that to people, you know, never mind to anybody else, just set out your own stall, you know, and focus on you and do your thing and never mind what anybody else is doing. You know, and through time, as you say, you know, the truth will surface, and those who represent
people come together.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
Taylor used to, on you go.
there you go, mate.
Aye, my fella used to say, you know, that we should just make our own music and just play it. And if folk don't like it, well, they can fuck off.
Yeah.
You know, just do it for yourself.
Seems like a wise man.
Wayne's World, you know, I'm showing my depth of film watching here, you know, with Austin Powers. New Wayne's World.
Fucking philosophical deal.
There's that line in Wayne's World, if you build it, they will come.
That was ripped off from Field of Dreams, actually. If you build it, they will come.
I never watched that. That was probably too intellectual for me at the time, so I go with Wayne's World, you know. But
No, I'm sure there's more to you than that.
It's all surface stuff, Ali. I'm really shallow, mate, you know.
No. So I was going to ask you there. Were you know, about the Masons or that Illuminati thing, right? Were you into that before you came across the flat Earth, or did that come afterwards? Is that kind of?
Are you asking Del or me?
No, I was asking you.
Oh yeah, I was definitely into other conspiracies before the flat Earth. 9/11 was pretty much the first awakening one for me. I think it was 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. I started watching documentaries and reading books. I got into Alex Jones and David Icke and Michael Tessarian, all those other guys that were out there spreading the word about this kind of thing at that time. And I just got hooked first on the mystery, and then once I figured out how many of these things were actually legitimate, I was hooked in another way, in the sense that I just couldn't believe how deceived all of humanity had been and how controlled we were. And then the activism kind of started. I started writing books and stuff just more out of disgust, I guess. I used to scream. Sure, yeah, scream into my pillow, and I had a lot of anger from realizing all of these things and feeling powerless to do anything about it. And I found that the outlet to be able to actually get rid of those emotions, because it just feel terrible when you're finding out all this stuff, you know, pedophile rings, and I mean, there's a lot of horrible stuff that goes on. And
For evil.
Evil. And I mean, what do you do when you confronted with the amount of evil that actually exists in the world? Well, you can do one of two things. You either cower in fear of it and you become a complete introvert that can't relate to anyone and you don't want to, or you got to get active and you got to actually spread the word, and you got to develop yourself into someone that's a good person on the other side of the spectrum, so that you can actually counteract these evil people. You know, we think of good and evil, there's like a spectrum. Most people, I think, live their life in the middle, where they don't make too many waves, because if you're going to be a really, you know, like Jesus, or there's these examples that people have given us that show that people that really put their necks out there to try to do something good, first of all, you have to fight evil. You can't just, you know, if I just did yoga all day, or I taught yoga and Wing Chun, I mean, would my life be as beneficial, and would I be as good a person, or at least would I be doing as good things with my life if I was just being all spiritual and having my positive yoga vibes and pushing those out to everybody else? I've done a lot less teaching of yoga and Wing Chun and everything else that I used to do, in an effort to do more of this kind of activism, because I find that it's more needed. I feel like I'm making more of an impact doing this than I would in my little spiritual woo-woo positivity vibration yoga bubble with me and my students. So, I mean, I love yoga, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of people that just, the way that they see yoga and talk about it, like it's a bit over the top. So when I think of a good person, I think of somebody that is taking on evil, like the people that went to Gaza with the flotilla to deliver food to Palestine, stuff like that. That's amazing to me. Or Rachel Corrie and some of these people that they've died for this, and I don't know. There's countless examples of people that have just stuck their neck out so far that it got chopped off, but they were being as good a person as you could be. And there's not many people like that. I don't think there's many super evil people either, really. Most people are in that middle spot where they don't rock the boat and do too much. But the problem is, if you've got these evil people at the top running everything, and then you've got a mass of people that they don't participate in evil, but they're not exposing it or helping counteract it or creating new things to move beyond it. Is your life effective? Is your goodness effective? So I think the goodest goodness, the best you can do is to fight the evilest evil you can find. And the people that are controlling the world here, like I said, the pedophile rings, sex slavery, murder, war, there's things going on that are just terrible. And
I don't think
I don't know how to fight these things either. Of course not. But I mean, the first thing you got to do is sound the alarm. So I mean, I feel like that's the stage that myself and anybody that's conscious and trying to do good is in right now. Is we got to get a critical mass.
Yeah, but it's not having a view of where you're going to go. That's the same for me. It's just like, get that passion to keep outing it in every aspect that you possibly can without knowing where it's going to go. I don't have an idea where it's all going to end up, but I just know that, I want to shout loud about the absurdities and the nonsense that's going on. And I think you're right. I've said that before. It seems to be, there's activists on our side and there's activists and, the evil, whatever people want to class it as. And it's just about, vying for the attention of those in that middle section. And if it's people with good aspects to them and with good intentions that are leading that, then fine. But right now, the way the system is and who's running the show, it's no good for somebody like me. I just don't agree with it at all.
Yeah, and you get paralyzed if you don't actually do something. Like I said, there's only really two things you can do when you find out the truth about this: is either keep it to yourself and become a pariah in your own life, or like we were talking about earlier, Del, us introverts that have figured this out, we got to come out of the introvert closet and try to become extroverted a bit and try and spread the word to these people, like you're saying, in the middle here, that have been distracted and they don't have the time or the energy or whatnot to look into this. So we got to bring it to them any way we can.
Exactly.
Absolutely. This is the time now. This is where everybody needs to step forward, it's again, I'm going to appeal to academics or anybody that's listening to this. Step forward, be counted, bear witness to what's going on, and do something about it, because we only have two active powers of causation. We can either do or we can forbear from doing. Yeah. And people need to get their act together, get their heads out their arses and do things. So this is the time, and there's more of us than we think. Yeah, it's just a matter, I think, of getting the people, losing their timidity.
Yeah, once they see safety go in the water, I think people will. That seems to be happening more now, especially in the last 5-6 months. Really seems to be spreading. Seeing a lot of new channels and new people appearing, which is great.
Brilliant,
yeah. But
foreign language content. The Flat Earth Conspiracy book of mine just hit the bestseller list in Indonesia.
Oh yeah, congratulations, mate. Congratulations.
Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
Thanks,
yeah. That's what I meant to say. That. Yeah, cool, man. Well done.
Kind of like a childhood dream of mine. I've been writing short stories and stuff since I was 5 years old. So I've always wanted to be a writer, and so to be a best-selling author, that's a good feeling. I've always wondered if I'd be able to achieve that.
I bet you never thought when you were 5 you'd be writing a flat Earth book.
Exactly.
Eric,
when I figured out that the Earth really was flat and that I was going to write what would be the first flat Earth book to be published in 50 years, I had a feeling it was going to do a pretty good job. I had a feel, and social media activism, which I've been doing for such a long time anyway, so I had a pretty good idea that this book would be able to catapult my writing career and to get the word out about everything. So people have also gone back and read a lot of my old books as well, from especially at 200 proofs. The Earth's Not a Spinning Ball is done better than any of the others. I just finished translating it into Thai language, which is the 13th language.
I thought that was a great choice, a name for it, rather than, Flat Earth on the heading, 200 proofs, it's not a spinning ball was great. You were saying you just had it translated into Thai, so you just released that today as well, so great.
Yep.
That was actually the very first thing I did. I think after I saw one of your videos, Eric, I ordered 10 books, and like on physical paper, and gave them to all my best friends. So definitely helped.
Thanks, I appreciate that. No, it's good to buy physical copies, or to even get physical copies of like CDs or USB things that you can hand to people.
Yeah.
Anything that's tangible, it's better than just a link. People can gift it forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Gonna try that in the next kind of process of the street stuff. Maybe take an iPad and have some, so you can show examples, maybe a bit of video footage, and get some different reactions from people and show them different things. Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think what also might be quite good would be an informative children's illustrated book.
I've thought about that several times. In fact,
because I helped my ex-wife. I remember I did a children's book with her about 20 years ago, not about this subject, but basically, a fairy tale. But there must be that'd be quite good to, if children could look at pictures and so on, in an informative, educational way.
Absolutely. I'm not very good at drawing, so I'd have to have someone else do the drawing, or someone can steal my idea. But here's the idea I've been thinking of. I don't know if I'd ever get around to it, so anybody else is welcome to steal it. I was thinking it would be a great way to, you have to figure out what age you're trying to target, but probably around 7 or 8 or something, when they're first learning the ball myth, and have it be like a thing between a grandfather and the teacher, and the kid keeps going between his grandfather and his teacher. The grandfather is telling him about the flat, motionless Earth, and the teacher's telling the spinning globe, and do it in this back and forth way where the child is trying to come to the truth for himself, and he keeps going back and forth, relating to the teacher and his grandfather what each one is saying, and both of them continue, refining his understanding. I don't know how the book would end, or you know, how to finish that up.
That's
But
a
I
good
thought
concept, though. That's quite a good concept.
Have the grandfather representing common sense and observable reality, and have the teacher representing pseudoscience.
exactly.
And dressed as a criminal.
Yeah. And Eric, the book, the one children's book that I did do about 20 years ago, we made it such a way that for the adults it was interesting for them to read. They actually had more fun bloody reading the book, you know, as well. So you can have it in a kind of two different kind of languages, you know. So the parents are really keen, right? Next part of the story. So they're really enjoying reading it, you know. And the kids are going to get it quicker then.
Even a voiced one, you know, like you done with the 200 proofs, you know, a narrated story, you know, would be great as well. Hey, Nick, how you doing, man? The Phuket word. Phuket. Aye, these must be close there. You quite close to each other?
We're quite a few hours away, actually. Phuket and Bangkok are quite a drive.
Yeah.
And a boat ride. Yeah.
Are you there, Nick? Can you hear us? Yeah, must be still putting up. We're having problems there. I don't know why, but I always just read it as Phuket, fuck it word. I used to think fuck it world. Fuck it world. I used to think. Hi Nick, can you hear us? Must be having a technical issue. You'll be able to see. I don't know if he'll see it here on the chat box at the side, will he?
Aye, he will.
Yeah.
No, so how long have you been training Wing Chun then, Eric?
I started martial arts when I was about 14, 15 with Taekwondo. I did that first for several years. Got a second degree black belt in that. Taught that for a bit. And then I started Wing Chun when I was 20, when I was in college. I'm doing it since then. It's about 14 years.
Yeah. What do you like about it? What do you like the fact about it? Do you just...
Well,
straight to
coming
the point
from,
with as little effort as possible.
Exactly. It's scientific, man. It's totally scientific. Taekwondo is excellent for kicking. It's the best martial art for learning to do different kinds of kicks at speed and power. So that part of my martial arts game was just fine, but everything else was lacking, and it became apparent when I started training Wing Chun. And Wing Chun does a good job of bringing it all together, especially Jeet Kune Do, which is Bruce Lee's non-martial art that he based on Wing Chun.
It's flowing, yeah. It flows, doesn't it? It's like you adapt, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is that more of it?
That's the original
sequences, yeah.
It's the original MMA. You know, Bruce Lee's the one that came up with the concept of mixing all martial arts together, taking what's useful, rejecting what's not, and making something that's uniquely your own. And that's also my philosophy. I mean, I love Wing Chun, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and a bunch of other martial arts, which I think dovetail with it really well, because there are certain blind spots in every martial art. So I totally agree with that philosophy and kind of train that way. But I do give special preference to Wing Chun, as I find that if you did have to pick one martial art, it is the one that I think is a great foundation.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, because I think it's important that you learn that kids learn martial arts when they're younger. It'll give that bit of discipline and maybe a bit of philosophy, especially if you've got good teachers. You know how sometimes you don't like listening to your parents or whatever. You know, there's kind of I like the discipline involved in it. If you know what I mean.
Definitely.
Or the mindset. Is good. You know, it definitely prepares you. Yep, and it prepares you as well for life later on. You know, it definitely does build your character. I believe anyway.
Sure. I always enjoyed it more than other sports because there's a practical application to it. You're never gonna kick a ball to save your life, so to speak. But you know, this you can do, and mentally as well, just knowing that you're prepared if something does come your way, that you can handle yourself.
That's the beauty. Yeah,
and beyond that, not wanting to. I mean, I'd be the first person to leave a situation that looked like it would be about to be a fight. And that's one of the things you learn from being a martial artist, is that you're never going to be in a situation. I'm not going to be puffing my chest up with anybody, you know, anytime any kind of situation comes up. And you know, and that's how you stay in self-defense mode, because you're trying to leave the situation. You know that there's some aggression coming this way. You want to diffuse it. You want to get out of there, and that way you know that you're always in the right.
Yeah.
Whereas if you start button chests, that's how almost, if you watch YouTube confrontations, I mean, 99% of confrontations can be avoided if you don't drink alcohol and if you don't puff your chest up when another guy does it to you.
Exactly. Yeah, that demon drink.
Hey,
Right,
Nick,
Nick,
you
how you
there?
doing, mate?
We hear you. Good to see you again, man.
Hi.
How you doing,
Hey, Nick.
All right. Hey, Del. Hi, Eric.
How you doing?
Hi, Nick. Rob here.
All right.
Good to see
Yeah.
you.
Hi, Rob. And you, man. Yeah. Looks like the satellites are working well for us. Someone told me.
Don't talk about satellites, please.
That's the 99% of all internet cables are under the water.
Now, Eric put me straight when I was about halfway through my flat Earth realization. I had a little satellites was my last kind of I was hanging on there, and no, he put me straight on that. So yeah, thank you for that, Eric.
Oh, likewise. Thanks for all your videos, Nick. Your channel's excellent. It's one of my favorite flat Earth channels.
Oh man, that's very nice to hear. Thank you. It's just like you're saying just now. It's just something that like the truth has got to be put out there, and once you know something, just you know, just get it out, and the people that reject it, well, they're not ready. The people that are ready will take note, and away you go. So
well, same approach as we're saying about the martial arts. You just plant seeds, and if you see someone's about to get aggressive, and then you can just walk away and hope that seed takes root later on.
That's it.
yeah.
And they do.
Yeah.
Make no doubt about it. They do. Yeah. You know, there's so many people. Even if you've approached them and said something, you know, and they come back to you 6 months later. You know, I had one guy come back to me after speaking to him, you know, 6 months ago, and he said, "I've been thinking about it every day. You know." So you know, the seeds do work, and the truth will out, as they say in Scots. Yeah.
Well, that's it. I keep saying that, you know, unless we have that foundation, you know, everything that we partake in and tell ourselves about our lives, you know, what is it really? So when you get to that point where you understand that and you realise it, and that's why for me it's like there's nothing else that matters. This is the most important thing for me. You know, that's it. You know?
I'm the same, Bill. You know, I don't want to entertain, you know, necessarily any thoughts. I mean, not that I'm an unthoughtful man or that I don't have the same things in my head that everybody else has, but you know, this one has got to be solved first before we can progress further. You know, with our knowledge of whatever it is. You know, at least for me. Yeah.
It's the most provable conspiracy. It's the biggest conspiracy, and it's in your face every day because you're walking on this earth. So it definitely doesn't go away. Of course, you're going to think about it every day. Once it's gotten into your mind, it's not going to leave it, because the horizon isn't curving, the earth isn't spinning. You know, it's got to stick in your mind that your experience just could be accurate. You know, the things you've been told could be false, and everything you experience just might be true. And isn't it wonderful when you realize that is the case?
Yep, direct realism.
It's quite
absolutely.
Quite
yep.
We were talking about how the negative side of realizing all the evil in the world, but there's also the positive side where you're not one of the deceived people anymore underneath this veil of ignorance, and there's a real empowering thing that comes along with that. So there's that as well. The flat Earth realization isn't a negative thing at all. It's very positive on a personal level as well as you know, on the planetary. How do you say that? Planetary level.
Down to earth. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a peace, like a tranquility that comes over you, kind of thing. You know, you take everything in your stride. You just feel, well, things are a lot easier. They always were easy, but I'm just saying it kind of, you change, you experience something anyway.
It's the excitement of discovery again, I think, for me. You know?
Right.
We were talking about earlier about the materialism and that whole idea, and when you're in that mindset and you're not questioning the globe and you're perceiving everything as being in a sphere, flying endlessly through space, and you're trying to rationalize and think about, you know, ideas about existing, you know, and then when you realize, no, wait a minute, that's, you know, wrong. That for me was you know, I was relieved, you know, like there's exploration now, there's new possibilities. Whereas back to the globe, I was seriously having to entertain materialism as maybe being true. You know, I was like, oh no, you know, I was like, you know, Nick was saying about hanging on with your fingers. You know, going, you know, there has to be something. But I'm honest enough with myself to go, nothing else makes sense. None of the religions make sense. None of the, you know, these ideas are making sense. You know, maybe materialism is true. Maybe it's just an accident and there's no real meaning and fuck it. You know, you're actually at that point. And for me, when, you know, I had that revelation, it was like a relief. But no, you know, there is design to it. There is more to it than I thought. You know, I really did think that before as a child. But you get lost in the whole intellectual world and, you know, trying to figure things out. So for me, it was a great relief.
For me too, by the way. I mean, I think all this, we're always told that all the answers have been are there and things have all been worked out, and you don't need to look at it anymore. It's all been solved, you know, because it brings you into an apathetic, you know, state of mind, basically. Yeah. So I fully agree. It, you know, made me research, look, discover other things, and it opens up a whole new world for you.
Well, if you really entertain what they try to push, I mean, you're inviting nihilism. You know, I even thought about it, go, you know, well, if this is really it, and it is really just them, why the fuck should I care about anything? I'm just going to take what I want for me and fuck you, you know, if you get in my way. You know, if you really entertained it, that's where you're going to end up. You know, that's where I could have ended up.
Absolutely. And look at the behavior of most of the people that are deepest into that mindset, and you see that kind of ego coming out of them. Notice that, you know, the die-hard atheist globe heads, or whatever you want to call them, they're not very civil, are they? Able to have a nice conversation and just figure out the truth together. It devolves rapidly into well, I just leave, like I said. But if you stick around, it would just be ridicule and nonsense.
Absolutely. This dissolves into debate again. We're back to the duality and something to defend and a belief to, you know, to go for. So, yeah, I agree. People seem to have lost that ability to have a reasonable discussion.
Yeah. Here, for me personally, I remember being very shocked. Obviously, after being in Thailand for so many years and not being really connected to the UK, and then being shocked at the reactions that people give you. Those people that have been obviously indoctrinated. Over here, you can go down the road and strike up a conversation with anyone about the meaning of life, and they take you seriously, and you can have a meaningful conversation with a cobbler or a coffee seller. Because something like the shape of the earth is not something that's defined their reality. They're already enlightened. You know, they already get it. So it's not a challenge to accept or to even contemplate that. Yeah, they already have the meaning of life is defined for a lot of people that are not Westerners or haven't been indoctrinated with the Western science. It's, you know, the cycle of life. They've got their thing, their karma to do. I'm here. There's a reason. I might not know what that reason is, but I've just got to go through it and accept it. It doesn't mean you take things lying down, but you just deal with whatever comes in your life and accept that it's something that you have to deal with. It's part of the grand plan.
the Thai language, ball earth propaganda isn't nearly as evolved as the English language as well. So you find that they haven't even heard about a Foucault's pendulum before, or have never heard that toilets supposedly spin the opposite way in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, stuff like that. So they actually, I don't think, at least in my experience, the Thais haven't been as thoroughly indoctrinated into this whole web of lies as the Westerners have. So that's another reason that it's a lot easier to get to them, because you don't have to debunk nearly as many lies as you do with your average Westerner to get to the inner child that can start wondering again whether they've been sold a pack of lies.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm just wondering who came up with that with the toilet. Who was the first person to say no? The toilet spins a different way down the south. And I'm just wondering
it's an African scam on the equator.
Yeah, but who the fuck even came up? But who the fuck even thought of that? Yeah, something. Yeah, plumber. It's no plumber. I fucking know, man. I tell you. But who the fuck even came up with that? What a useless bit of information. That's no good for fuck all, man. I'm just wondering, who was the first person to come up with that, but there you go.
It's the irony of it, the water's spinning a different direction. You go, but what about the behaviour of the actual water? What happens to the water when it actually sits fucking still? And why is it flowing? Is it because it's, doing a gradient? Yeah. But we live in a globe.
But my question is, at what point does it lose its physics? At what point does water lose its physics when it starts sticking to a ball? At what point?
Oh, it has to be planet-sized.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. But what size though? What circumference?
Planet size.
All right, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, that's science.
Stay with gravity.
That's that. At what point,
The cure-all.
Well, I mean,
give me something like gravity.
To throw in a little bit of maths and physics again, the mathematics is sorry, Ali. Mathematics is just the doctrine of quantity and ratio, right? So when we talk about scale, all we're trying to do in mathematics is measure things to a specific scale, huh? So that's where they can do all that trickery that they're doing. Yeah, that's all that mathematics is really about. Yeah,
it's estimations and approximations. It's like that Pythagoras theorem. It's like Pythagoras theorem. That's only an estimation. You can't really work out precisely what the square of the hypotenuse or what that shit is. You can't get the exact length. You never can get the exact length of that line. The diagonal line. You can never get the exact length of that.
Yep, it's an irrational number, is what they call it. Yep.
Yep. So you can never get a finite number, meaning then mathematics is shit. Sorry, Gavin, you just wasted all your fucking life.
No, I didn't. It's helping me unravel this shit. So.
You're here, yeah, exactly. You're here helping.
I like maths. Come on, guys. Leave me alone.
Listen, you're thinking optics. Gavin was awesome. No, I'm only kidding, mate. But you're still too materialistic for my liking. We'll get you down. We'll get you into the spiritual yet, buddy. There's something out there. No, so yeah, but they've just hijacked. They've just. No, go on, Nick. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, I figure the sphere is the ideal container, isn't it, to have a specific mass in a specific volume in order to give you the. They just need it. They require the sphere to make these equations and have the and the South Pole and have the opposites. So it came about out of necessity to say that gravity was based on mass, the density in a certain volume, and that's how I see it. And yeah, when they put the center point, the center of gravity is just you can see that it's just a purely mathematical thing. It stole. Go on.
No, the more you pick away at it, people have this illusion that they're these genius minds who had this all laid out from the beginning. You go, nah. The more you look at it, what I see is a lie being told, and then cover up and adapting the lie as they go and making up more bullshit. As it progressed, it's not something that was just set out as a plan. It started probably with an initial lie, and they've just progressed as it went on. What are they saying? Right. How can we rework that? And, give them a rebuttal, and and that's where we see it, and it just looks like a total mess. It's a joke. Absolutely.
but it's been done on purpose. They're doing it on purpose, so this is the thing.
Yeah,
This is done with purpose. You know, this isn't just the accident of humanity. This has been done on purpose. So.
Yeah, but that's the point. You know, people have this, like, they set it out from the beginning with this plan. You know, I don't see it like that. I just see it as liars manipulate, like a liar does. You know, as it's being pulled up on lies, it'll just make new lies up to cover that lie, and it becomes a web that even they forget, and they contradict themselves on so many terms. You know. It's laughable.
That's why they write so many fucking books, Dale, you know, the endless books of mathematicians.
Yeah.
It's quite good to get a flat earth mathematics or water level mathematics. There's no many books with that, is there?
Yeah, come on, Gavin.
Huh?
Well, my book would be simple. It would just be one page in the front cover, and it would just say, fucking show.
Because that's all you need.
A builder's level, man. That's ridiculous, isn't it? But we bought into the lie. I mean, there was the thing I tell the guys before. I mean, when I was younger, I actually had nightmares about what would happen if the ball stopped spinning. We would just float off, and I used to actually be traumatized by that the first time I heard that I was fucking attached to a spinning ball when I was about 4 or 5. I actually remember having nightmares. So that must, and surely I'm not the only one. You know, it took me 18 years to get over it.
For me, it was being told. Go on.
Asteroids. Yeah, they got us worried about asteroids and pole flip.
Fucking
shifts. The poles are going to shift with the baller.
Yeah.
They've mass coronal ejections. They've come up with a bunch of stuff that we got to be scared of in their ball earth model. Yeah, that's part of the relief. Once you figure out that it's nonsense, you don't have to worry about all that anymore.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a subliminal relief, though. Maybe.
I was always disappointed when they came out with stuff like that, because I'd be going, yes, destroy the fucking place. It's a shithole. You know, I would be let down when none of these things materialised.
Waiting for it. It'd be just you in your shed left, Del. It'd be the apocalypse, and it'd be just you in your shed left. Fuck all else there, man. Nobody to talk to or nothing.
I've got pigeons. You know, pigeons. They say pigeons, cockroaches, or insects are the only ones that are going to survive anything like that. So, you know, I'll be fine.
Okay.
Dale, has your wife got you a big ball and chain there? You probably can't even move out the shed, can you? You'll never fly away.
I'm tagged. I've got a tag.
I was watching the moon last night. It's nearly a full moon over here. I don't know what it's like for you, what the sky's like down there with you, Gavin and Robbie, but the sun was out, right? The sun was out that direction. The moon was out that direction, and it wasn't even a full moon, but they were facing literally opposite. Tonight, I think, it's a full moon. And then the sun went away behind the clouds, and the clouds were literally above me. And the moon was still shining like pure. It was like a pure white with a blue background. And just looking at it, I mean, you know, there's definitely something about that. I just can't work out what it is. There's something not fucking right about it.
I had said it a while ago, and I think I've seen a couple of videos. I'm not sure if you had done something on it, Nick, where I was saying, you know, if the sun has gone here and the moon comes into my sky in a phase, you know, I go to my bed and I get up in the morning and that moon's still in my sky in the same phase, but yet, you know, the sun supposedly, you know, coming all the way
around the other side.
You know, that's it. I've seen a couple of people. I don't know if it was yourself, Nick. I'm not sure. Can't remember.
I'm not going to be honest, no. But yeah, I've done a lot of wondering about the moon. Yeah, I honestly can't work it out. I did notice actually just trying a little experiment the other day. Get a plant pot with the hole in the top and the sun streaming through it, and if you just tilt, there's something about the tilting, and again, I think maybe you can confirm this, Eric. In the Thai language, they use the word like a bowl for talking about the moon phases. And yeah, if you just get a plant pot with a hole in the top and the sun streaming through, you can get the entire phases of the moon by just doing a tilt.
Tilting. Right.
Yeah. So
the shadow, like talking about the shadow kind of
yeah,
thing.
like, you know how you would get that spotlight through the hole in the top of the plant pot, you know, an upside down plant pot, and then you just tilt it, and then that gives you the phases, you know, it gives you the shadow. And of course, that in a way, just doing that, because we can't see any of the moon when it's in the shadow. We you know, we never really know if it's actually at all visible. Yeah. Yeah. So that kind of made some sense in the fact that you can get that same effect just by tilting that hole, and then the shadow comes across just like it comes across the moon. So I'm just wondering if you take the idea of some kind of firmament, and there is light everywhere, but it's being filtered through holes. It's just an idea. I don't know. I sometimes wonder about the speed of dark. We talk about the speed of light, but what about the speed of dark? That might sound crazy, but you know, I kind of realized recently that I don't think sunlight or any light is actually traveling in straight lines. It's more reflected light comes in straight lines, but I get the impression that light in general just is a kind of
everywhere,
an omnipresent. Yeah. Yeah.
Contemplating the exact same thing, mate.
Yeah. Okay. And even with the moon, you know, look, I mean, any one of us at any time can look at the moon, and if there are clouds below, you know, right under the moon, then those clouds will be lit up for us. So, you know, the light doesn't do anything until it hits something.
Yeah.
So you know, hence we get the crepuscular rays and everything, because nothing's happening with the light until it hits the clouds. So of course it looks local, and it could be on a tree or a cloud or whatever. Nothing happens, and I think, isn't it weird how the shadows spread out? So how can light be in a straight line if the shadows are actually spreading out? It's the shadow that's doing the thing more than the light is doing the thing, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I mean, when you look at Goethe's theory of light as opposed to Newton's theory of light, then there are, you know, large differences. That it's, you know, basically, it's not this, you know, light splits up, or white light splits up into all the different colors, but that it's a mixture of background and foreground, you know, that's happening. So. Yeah, I mean, it's an open question for me too. It's one of these things you need to go back and look at, and the things you were told, wave, photon, duality, you know, it just doesn't make sense anymore. So
that's so abstract, though.
And I think we need to look at these things with fresh eyes. So absolutely, there's no daft questions. Yeah, if you know what I mean.
That's the problem. Okay. We're blind and we don't know what these things actually are. The luminaries, you know, that's the problem. But that for me, that was the reason why, you know, I just avoided it and left it. You know, I wasn't getting anything measurable. It wasn't telling me anything new about where I am. You know, for me, I just, you know, obviously people work on it, and you know, I don't begrudge anybody that. But for me, I just, you know, without knowing exactly what these things are, what I'm observing, where they actually are, you know, for me, it was a pointless endeavour.
Is that kind of not part of the point, though? You get to this realization that there is no way any of us can ever know. So you get to the point where you realize that trying to reach for the stars or for the moon is pointless. So you have to then look in. You know, it's an unanswerable question.
Well, what, you know, for me, I don't know if it's part of the deception and stopping us from the exploration. You know, linear exploration. You know, for me, it's like us gazing at the sky and guessing and wondering that the answers are up there when really, you know, it could be across the way. You know, what if we find something that's there that tells us what, you know, the sky is, what's happening with the moon, the sun, the stars? I don't know. You know, but.
Yeah. As far as the flat Earth discussion, when you bring in flat Earth to people, I think it's good to stick with the Earth and not get too involved in the sun, moon, stars, and planets, because it's irrelevant, first of all, to whether the Earth is flat or not. And like we were saying earlier, you just kind of get down a rabbit hole. Once you're at the level we're at, for sure, speculating and trying to figure this out, it's great. But I think that a lot of people try to go into that stuff too early. and it keeps them in their ball earth mindset, because they're just speculating, and you're speculating, and so then you just go into speculation mode, and you haven't made any progress on getting them to understand that the earth is actually flat and motionless, because they're just worried about how the phases of the moon happen, which is totally irrelevant to the shape of the earth. But yeah, I don't begrudge anyone research. That's like you said, these open-ended questions are great, and that's what we're left with, instead of having an appeal to authority answer for everything that we just have to accept. Instead, we're left with the open-ended question that we can explore for ourselves, which is great.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's what makes it all a difference. I mean, I think everybody's done their, maybe done their moon experiments as well. I mean, we did one as well. We built a Fresnel lens, and we could, focus sunlight quite easily, but you can't focus moonlight, It wouldn't do the same thing that it was supposed to do, with one of these Fresnel lenses. So, but after that, you do get kind of bogged down, and you have to, take a step back, and all these questions are still open, and that's what makes it so exciting, if you ask me, But yeah, one thing at a time.
Yeah, and that's it. And I was so strong on it because the globe pushers, that's their biggest arguments. The sky. It's all what they refer to constantly. It's just there. That's a distraction. They know that they can tie people up knots with that. They have a story worked out, and that's all it is a story. And people don't have a story, anything to counter it. So they think that it's somehow a victory, and they use it to try and belittle and dissuade people from contemplating that the earth is actually level. So, and it's a red herring. When you get right into it, you ask them, explain the logic, and then give me the measurable proof that you get by looking at the sky and referencing the sky, and they come back with nothing, because what can they offer you? Until they can prove to me they know exactly what the sun, the moon, and the stars are, and what we are actually observing, then they've got nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely.
The main point of the stars, they're going to look at anything. Look at the fact that the North Star is in the same spot, and all the other stars stay in their constellations, revolving perfect circles around them every night. Whereas in the spinning ball Earth model, going around the sun spinning around the galaxy, and the galaxy spinning around, the stars should be never the same 2 nights in a row. They should always be different, and they should never come back around. But just looking at a picture, star trail time lapse should be enough to figure out that the Earth is motionless. But yeah, like you said, instead, like Bill was saying, instead of doing that, for most people, it just brings them off into this realm of speculation, looking up into the heavens and wondering about that, instead of bringing them back down to Earth with the observable, testable, repeatable experiments that we can actually do and prove, instead of going off into speculation land, which is...
Yeah. That's it.
You don't want to do that with a newbie, with a guy that's just starting off with this. You want to keep bringing their feet to the ground and not let them go off on those tangents.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and they need to understand, these first principles. Sorry to come back to it, but if they don't understand what it is we're all agreeing on, how we work, how we think, how we look, if you don't have the agreement on that, then how can you progress further? And you can't do mathematical reasoning with it either, without bootstrapping and saying, right, these are my axioms, these are my assumptions, these are my universal ideas, common notions. And if people can't agree on that, there's no point in having a discussion. Because you're starting off with different premises, so it's pointless.
Sorry, can everybody hear that? Is it just me?
There's a kind of background noise, yeah? Or don't know what it is.
Sounds like something revolving at the earth.
It's probably a fan in Fuck It World.
Hey, fuck it, world.
Yeah. Okay, I've just turned it off. Now I'm going to sweat my bollocks off. Yeah. Right. I have got balls. Yeah, someone suggested me that maybe Phuket would be a great place to have a flat Earth conference. It's definitely, you can definitely see the flatness here for sure. Over the Andaman, and maybe I can talk to Thai Airways and get some free flights, but I'd have to come up with some other name for the conference, and you know, pretend that you're all like internet stars and, you know, get you free flights over here and well, you know.
The west coast of Scotland's a lovely place to do it too. So I'll speak to British Airways.
I picked up on that, Nick. I picked up on it.
Cool.
No. And you know,
go ahead.
gosh, I brought some t-shirts for signing. You know, get some celebrities here myself now. You know. That's enough of that. That's you, Nick. You know, you're actually a bad influence dragging us into that. Change the subject.
Quick.
What did I miss?
Just that. Yeah.
I always miss the good stuff, man. I'm always away, man. For fuck's sake. Hang on a minute, I'll put a bit of light on.
No, get-togethers are good for people, you know. You know, nice when people can get together and meet up, and communicate. You know.
Yeah. Definitely. No, this is an historical event. I'm sure, man. This will this hangout will go down in history as a step to.
I'm sure the statues are being moulded as we speak.
You fucking wish. Yeah.
I hope they make mine's a wee bit tanned. I hope they don't make me too wally and white.
Yeah, like me, man. I hope they get my nose right.
You need to take a shave, Del. You know, get that blowtorch out like Desperate Dan and have a shave first.
Presentable TV appearance.
No, it's good just to get together, though. It's like and talk some without interrupting and swear. Well, not too much swearing, like, you know, but.
Well, that's part of the Scottish vernacular, Ali. You can't deny that, you know. Glottal stops and fucking for emphasis is just inborn into Scots.
Yeah,
we can't get rid of it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, sir.
I need a bigger fucking globe.
My boy, I was on the train with my boy coming back for the town just before Christmas. It was, we're up Christmas shopping, and we're coming across the train. There's a bridge that goes across onto the island that I'm on at the moment. And I said, Axel, I says, look at the window there. I said, look, I says, you know the world's flat. And he goes, yeah, I know. Well, he's like 10-year-old. My daughter is not having it, but he knows. But my daughter is having absolutely none of it at all. She's like 13, 14.
Get the Socratic method used on her, Ali. You need to use the Socratic method, mate.
I'm not good at that shit, man. I got an O level in cooking, man.
Well, talking of cooking, have you stayed vegan?
Oh yeah, I'm actually. Yep. I just moved.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
On my daughter's life, and my son's life. Man. Of course I have.
Well done.
Yeah. Even of course, man. Yeah, you changed my life, mate.
It was Eric that changed me to vegan and Gav as well. So and the whole family.
Well done, Eric. There's another convert here. The boys converted me when I was down visiting them. That's all I ate for the week, and it was delicious. Yeah. There's no need to. The bacon sandwich done it for me.
Yeah, it was a vegan bacon sandwich.
I said to Gavin's wife, I says, if you can make me a vegan bacon sandwich, I says, I'll convert tomorrow. And she made my breakfast, and that was it. Right, fucking right. Here we are. And I haven't looked back. That's about how long now, Gav? I don't even know how long.
4 weeks. Something like that.
Yeah, it just seems natural. I don't even. Yeah, just yeah. just seeing a lump of meat doesn't interest me at all. Nothing at all like that. So
the ignorance, and it's the ignorance of people, and then
exactly, yeah.
People want to complain that they're not being treated fairly, yet they have total ignorance for every other sentient life, you know. And I've got no sympathy for it. You know, it's all right, very well, people want to eat meat, but you know, you should be part of that process, you know, rather than it being pre-packaged and sent to you in a wee nice container. If you want to eat it, you go and kill it, skin it, get through the whole process. I don't have an issue. You know? But the ignorance and the
yeah, but even that, there's no. I mean, there's no need. I mean, there's no even need for that. Before we even had fire, you know, we are running about eating fruits and vegetables. You know, we weren't eating meat. We're not designed. Our stomachs are not designed. I mean, I've known this for years and years, so it's quite an easy transition for me. I just needed just to meet Gavin and Rob and his family. Yeah. Aye, you know, that's simplifying it, you know, but it did, you know, I'd have probably done it anyway, you know, it was already there, but as I say, and it was just through that final push, you know, and I recommend people try it. It's a bit more expensive, but, you know, you get more energy, you feel better, and yeah, so it's all been positive.
One of the comments I get most often when people are debating whether to go vegan or not, they write to me, but bacon. like it's like it's an argument, but it's legitimate. You know, cheese as well. You know, these things they're in so many different foods that we're used to eating, and they do taste really good, and they have like a hormonal component and stuff to them that we're addicted to. So weaning yourself off them isn't that easy, actually. And you've got to replace it with nutrient-rich foods as well, and you got to eat enough plant foods. A lot of people find they're hungry or they don't have enough energy when they go vegan or adopt a more plant-based diet, and that's because you got to eat more. You actually got to eat more food to get the same amount of calories, because plant foods don't have the amount of calories that animal foods do. You're gonna have to, you know, set aside maybe twice as long for your dinner and make a big, huge salad, and you know, your eating style has to change. You can't just eat the same miniature portions that you could eat of an animal product. You have to eat a heck of a lot more.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's especially with me that I experienced. It's that heavy feeling in your stomach that you miss. You know, and I think that's maybe what a lot of people miss. When you're eating fruit and veg, you don't get that same heaviness in your stomach, so it feels weird. You think you're hungry, but just with the smoothies and
that's one of the things I noticed that I liked when I first went vegetarian and vegan, was how light my stomach felt all the time, and remembering having hamburger meals or other things in the past when steak would just sit in your stomach and just feel like a rock. You're like, it's not digesting, you don't really feel like doing anything, and that used to be so often, but now that almost never happens unless I eat some really fattening food, a bunch of nuts or avocado or something like that, a bunch of that.
Well, I recommend I recommend this here, right? It's about that size here. You have this after your dinner. It's just like a yogurt. It's a plant-based yogurt thing. It's so fucking filling, man. Right? This thing here, it's like having a dessert after, and it fills you up. Sorry for advertising there on your channel.
Thanks for that product placement, Ali. That's good.
I want a cut, Ali.
It's in the post, mate. It's in the post. So, but it is. But you were saying about you don't actually have to eat as much. I actually find out you just have to make sure you get yourself a dessert or eat something filling afterwards. But these little things here, these little fuckers here, they fill you up, you know, and they take away that missing, you know, because your stomach rumbles. It doesn't mean, you know, your stomach starts making noises. Doesn't mean you're hungry. Right? And people need to get away from that myth. Because when people, they go, oh, I'm hungry, and then they go and fucking attack food. No, you're not hungry. Wait for 5 minutes and you'll find out you're not. It's just your stomach making noises.
Yeah.
Readjusting, whatever. So, you know, and people salivate over McDonald's and stuff like that, because what you were saying there, Eric, about they put the hormones in it, and they design the food to, you know, trigger you, man, basically. You know, give you that fucking addiction.
I still get it. You know, you buy somewhere where there's a grill happening, there's maybe meat on the grill, and my mouth waters, you know, and it's like, oh. But, you know, you need to question where that comes from. It's an ongoing struggle for me. I'm not going to deny that, you know.
Plus, it's a wee bit more expensive unless you grow your own veg and stuff like that. You know, that'll take a wee bit of the cost away. But eating vegan in Denmark, it's a bit more expensive. But you know, it's worth it, man. You know, what price do you put on your health and a longer life to be around to get the truth out or to fucking make a difference or whatever your plan is. You know.
Yeah.
So it's worth it. I just recommend everybody give it a try and see how it. You know, and analyze how your body is, you know, actually, you know, go inside your body and think how you're reacting to it and, you know, how you're feeling. Are you tired after you eat? You know, do a scientific survey on yourself, man.
That's everybody's different.
Yeah, that's it. So, there we are.
But
and mayonnaise.
It's not going to give the answers to where we actually live, but, you know,
think clearer, you know what I mean?
Well, there is that.
It is some suffering.
I think it's the road in, isn't it?
You know, there's some of the most suffering going on in the world right now is the animals. It's 10 billion land animals that are murdered every year just for our food, and you know, many more than that are enslaved. So if you look at it that way, and if you can, you know, the average person eats something like 25,000 animals throughout their existence. So you can imagine a field with 25,000 animals around it, and then beyond that field there's more fields with plant foods, and you get a machine gun and a hoe or something, and it's your choice whether you want a machine gun down 25,000 animals so that you can maintain your existence, or you just walk past the animals, pet them along the way, and you go to the plant foods, and you can totally survive that way and reduce all that suffering.
That's it.
So
it's not just about health, guys. It is about sentient beings and doing stuff to them that you shouldn't be doing, you know.
And that's the problem. People don't have that practical experience of what it means to kill, skin, you know, prepare. It's just they're born into it where things are just pre-packaged to them. There you go. There's your chicken nuggets, you know, and it comes in a nice wee dish and it tastes good, and that's as far as your awareness goes.
Absolutely. If you had to kill for it, you'd have a different attitude, I'm pretty sure.
If you
skin it and gut it,
if you had to raise the animals and you care for them and you look after them, you know, and we know the majority. You know, it's like, you know, as Eric put in the lyrics with Fido, you know, it's all right to kill all these other things, but don't touch Fido or Fluffy, you know. If you had to be.
Nick, you probably know how in Buddhism and here in Thailand, the first tenet is not to cause suffering or harm to other living creatures. Yet almost every monk that you see will eat meat, and they won't even ask for a vegetarian option when they're going around with their bintabat and trying to get their food, because they'll say that to be Buddhist, you have to accept what is given to you. So the people give them meat, so they say, well, I'm not going to say anything about it, and so they just accept it. And they say that they're removed from the karma because someone else killed the animal and that it's already dead. So that this is how the Thai Buddhists have justified going against the very first precept of their religion by eating meat all the time. They do it by saying, well, the karma goes to the slaughterhouse, not to me. But that would be like if you ordered an assassination on somebody, and you think that all the karma goes to the hitman, even though the hitman wouldn't have performed the hit had you not provided the supply and demand, which is what's happening when you eat meat and animal products. You provide the demand, and they're just, you know, these people are just doing their job at the slaughterhouse for what you wanted. So, I just wanted to hear your stance. Have you ever come across any of that with the Thais?
Sure. I mean, it was one of the contradictions that I had, you know, of course, you know, when I remember I got on a train journey, like a 20-hour train journey, and it freaked me out because I ended up sitting next to a monk. And, but this was the beginning of, you know, you ask those basic questions, you know, well, I see monks doing this and, you know, not, you know, maybe throwing litter out the window or not being very Buddhist, you know, and he had some very good answers that basically people are people. They're walking their path, they're doing their thing. But yeah, Eric, they're kind of, you know, they can just like any religion, I suppose, where people say I'm this religion or that religion, but they don't necessarily follow it, the principles of it. I've seen monks be given meat as an offering and they will not touch it, and there are certain temples where they are renowned for being, you know, proper Buddhists. But yeah, in a way, you know, there is that thing that you kind of got to accept it and you can't complain about it. It's just like, that's, you know, what's been handed to you. So how can you just turn it? So yeah, again, that was one of the things. Why doesn't the monk say no thank you if he's given meat? Or again, why do the people give the meat if they know that you're not supposed to eat meat?
It's a contradiction, absolutely.
So yeah. So even in what would be considered a very deeply Buddhist culture, you still have many contradictions. And of course, you have people going to the temple and asking for a lottery number. They go and make merit, make a donation, but they're hoping that by doing so will make them rich, and that's completely missing the point. And so yeah, but that's just people, isn't it? You know, we find it very difficult to actually adjust our own. And I think maybe, you know, the whole kind of vegetarian or becoming aware of the whole food thing, I think that's probably an inroad for a lot of people for the waking up, you know, realizing it helps, you know, you get cleaner and you start to realize that there's a big machine of propaganda that is in place. You know, we used to have a campaign. I remember seeing an ad on the way to work in the UK every day: go to work on an egg. You know, so you've got this massive collaboration between, you know, and we kind of led to believe that, you know, through what was the PR guy, the big PR guy,
Max Clifford,
created, you know, interview.
Bernays.
Yeah, Bernays. You know, interviewed
right,
5,000 or 500 doctors. You know, yeah, the father of PR or whatever. Interviewed 500 doctors and basically asked them the question: Would you say that bacon and eggs is a kind of not healthy, but a good breakfast to get going on? And of course they say, well, yeah, and that becomes a kind of, you know, the British culture of the Great British Breakfast is something that's been given to them by a PR campaign. You know,
it's been repackaged in so many ways over history. The Atkins diet and now the paleo primal diet. What they are high fat, low carb diets, which puts your body in a state of ketosis, which burns fat, not carbs. Which sounds good because suddenly you're able to eat a bunch of fat and you lose weight, and people get hooked on these diets. And what happens though is eventually your metabolism slows down to the point that you can't burn the amount of fat that you're eating, and you just start putting on more and more fat. The Dr. Atkins died overweight of heart failure. It's not a sustainable solution because every cell in our body runs on glucose. Yeah, right. Every cell in the body runs on glucose. So we're actually like carnivores. We want carbohydrates more so than protein and fat. We can do with very little protein and fat. But, you want to eat a lot of carbohydrates, and that is sustainable. And as long as you eat a plant-based diet with high carbohydrates and low fat, low protein, you'll be able to eat that way for the rest of your life and be totally healthy, you know, free of sickness. It's the correct way to eat is somewhere along if you've heard of the 80-10-10, raw food would be the best. So I mean, fruits and vegetables are the absolute best foods on earth, and the way to eat them is raw. The best way to eat them is raw, because when you cook them, you lose a bunch of the nutrients and you add free radicals and a bunch of bad stuff. So those are the best. But then you've got your next tier, which is like potatoes and rice. These are, and they're white, they're like earthy colors. These are things you can eat every day, and they're filling, and they're complex carbohydrates. They last longer. A fruit is a simple carbohydrate. It's excellent. It's the best food you can eat is fruit. There's people that live only on fruit. They're fruitarians. They say vegetarian, but there's no such thing as a vegetarian in existence, because you couldn't just eat vegetables. There's not enough calories in them to sustain you, though you could with fruit. And fruit is actually the best thing you could possibly eat. It's the most healing food on the planet. But then, like I said, you got your potatoes and your rice and stuff. That's like a staple that you can eat to stay full, or oatmeal or oats and these kind of things. They fill you up and they keep you full, and you can eat those for the rest of your lifetime and be good. Then you got your third tier carbs, which is like your breads and your pastas, and those things have been processed, and they're still better than fats, but not as good a staple as, say, rice or, of course, fruit, the best food on earth. Bananas, actually,
that's why
that's the banana. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, you could survive quite well for a long time on just bananas. And people have even recovered from diabetes and other debilitating illnesses from just going on a banana-only diet for a period of weeks. And their insulin and blood sugar comes right back. Cancer has been cured. Bananas are amazing. I mean, and doctors you can't patent a banana diet and sell it to somebody. And the only way to get somebody to do it is to convince them enough that it will work. Most people don't want to do it. They want a pill or a surgery or something that they can buy and have someone else do the work for them, because it's not easy. I've eaten bananas for like a week for a cleanse, and I mean, it's not easy to eat just one food. Or fasting is also good. You just drink water for a long period of time. All animals, when they're sick in nature, they don't eat. Your mom tells you to eat when you're sick. You got to eat something, but really, all animals fast when they're sick. And when you fast, you're giving your internal organs a break, and they're able to release toxins, and you're better able to recover from whatever the sickness is. So fasting is another healthful practice that you can do, as well as eating plant foods.
Yeah, I done a month on just eating apples, and that just totally changed me. That totally changed me. I couldn't believe it. My mates couldn't believe it. I was just full of fucking energy, and that's all I ate for.
You did just
it was that for a whole
you
month.
Ate only apples
for a whole month, yep.
How many did you eat a day?
I had no
How did you eat them?
about 4 or 5 apples, or I just for in a whole month. My mates couldn't, I couldn't believe it, and that just convinced me. I said, "Oh, wait a minute, there's something not right here."
Be careful with something like that, though, because if you only ate 4 or 5 apples, you'd only be getting in about 300 or 400 calories a day, and you need
but I was taking it easy.
Okay.
I know how to conserve energy, but I know how to conserve energy. You know, I'm very conservative with my energy.
Guys, you just excuse me for 2 minutes. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Sorry, guys. Just
yeah. But that was that. That was that. What was his name? Dave. That. What's his name? Allegedly,
David Wolf. Oh no, sorry.
No. That allegedly, Dave. Dude, he came up with this thing. I think the Human Body Workshop. So I thought, right, I'll give it a bash. I had no adverse effects. All I felt was great, as I say, and nothing, no tiredness, no. Yeah,
well, they do say, Ali, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So
yeah, it was a very strange experience, right? Because I was analysing myself while I was doing it. It was kind of experiment I was doing just to try it. But here I am, here I am after it. I had no adverse effects. I felt great.
There's an absolute wealth of information out there, I think, that show that
it's weird.
The dietary and nutrition stuff. People need to look at that closer. And I think if they do change their diets, then they will be healthier and they'll think clearer. Yeah, and I think
I wouldn't recommend it though. I'm not recommending that diet. I'm saying I tried it.
No, I'm not talking about your diet, Ali. I'm talking about the wealth of
I'm just saying what I said. No, I'm just saying what I said there, just in case anybody starts going on about they're trying to kill us. He's talking about diets and just eat apples and shit like that. So I'm not recommending that diet.
I think most people watching this are capable of making up their own minds, Ali.
Yeah, but there's a few wankers out there that need sorting out. So just covering myself, mate. I'm just covering myself.
Covering your ass, yeah.
And lawfully.
But hey, it does come back down to the whole Earth thing, isn't it? You know, in a way, you know, Mother Earth is calling us back. You know, there we are looking at the stars and all this stuff, but really, we just got to come down to Earth and just see and experience, you know, these earthbound things and get back in touch with being on this Earth. I mean, you know, they talk about us. I mean, where the hell did water come from anyway? You know, you know, Neil deGrasse Tyson will tell us it came from comets. You know, kind of. It's just where'd you get that idea from? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's flat. That's the most important. Or it finds its level, shall we say? So.
So what's the plans? Does anybody have any activism happening? Is it, you know, Eric, Nick, have you any interviews coming up? Any future plans?
Yeah, got a couple interviews lined up. I've been working on that Thai translation. I just finished that today. You can use that one, Nick. I finished a 200 proof Thai translation PDF and video
Brilliant.
book. Yeah, you can use that with any Thai people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been working slowly on a sixth book. Yeah, I'll keep doing videos as ideas come.
Where can we get a hold of your earlier books? Where can we get a hold of your earlier books? Or have you released some of your other books or what?
Lulu.com is where they're all on. LULU.com.
All right, okay. Just to get I like reading anyway, so I like to, you know, I really do like reading, so. Right, that's cool. And what would I type in?
Let's see, it's lulu.com/spotlight/Eric Dubay is all
right,
one
cool.
word.
All right, cool.
I think that's, by the way, Eric, really good, these translations, you know. I mean, irrespective of the content that's in there, the more languages that it can be out there, then the more people can get involved in this. So kudos to all the guys, I think, on the IFRS who have, you know, translated it into all these different languages. I know one guy was extremely active, and yeah, good on them. Absolutely.
Yeah, big thanks to all the translators.
Yeah,
it's important to get it out there to all the different countries and different languages, so it becomes an international effort and not just English language thing.
Yep. And Thai is not an easy language either, is it?
No, it's not.
Probably wasn't one of the easiest translations that was made.
Definitely not. Technical language too. It's not the kind of colloquial Thai that I'm used to translating and speaking every day. It's a lot of technical words I had to look up.
Yeah, there's many levels of language. I mean, in Thai, yeah. If you speak to royalty, for example, you've got to use a different language completely. Yeah. So,
getting back to language, Nick. Just sorry, I'm butting in here, but when you start to look at various things that people have written over the time, and you analyze closer the language that they use to you know, convey the ideas and the concepts, and you see how the language is used to manipulate how we think. And a very good example of that is, and this is just something I want to call out to everybody to have a look at, Bernhard Riemann, which is Riemannian geometry, the protege of Gauss, Mr. Curvature. If you download Bernhard Riemann's on the hypothesis that lies at the basis of geometry, and there's no formulas in it, there's no equations in it, people. So it's not something you need to shy away from. But if you actually look at what the guy's writing and the words he's using, then you'll see how the abuse of language and how things have been, you know, like, you know, mind viruses, what we talk about, have been used, you know. So everybody should have a read at that paper. If you're a flat earther or you don't believe in the globe, then look at that paper and just look at it with a different outlook, if you know what I mean, and study closely the words that are being used, and you'll find that a lot of it unravels very, very quickly, you know.
Have a dictionary
especially for those people who think that, especially for those people who think maths is a proof of something, I urge them to look at that paper. Sorry, I just wanted to make that point about language in general.
Yeah, that's it. But make sure you've got a dictionary as well. just as a reference. So any words you get stuck on, but it's always a good thing. It's always a good thing. Whether it be another language or whatever you learn, it's always good to have a dictionary. Oh. All right, John.
Even for English, yeah.
Oh, John, you're here. How are you doing, man?
Hi guys, great to be here.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Good morning.
Apologies to everybody on the panel. Don't take it personally, but I fell asleep.
Okay.
Working shifts, I'm afraid. Hi Eric, great to meet you.
Hey John, good to see you. Or hear you.
I was listening to the beginning of the show, and just to reiterate what everybody else has probably said, that thanks very much for inspiring me in the early days and getting into this subject. And I actually came across you through Wing Chun videos rather than Flat Earth, actually. And
Cool.
I seen you were also into that, so I thought, wow, that's great.
So you train Wing Chun, do you, John?
Well, yeah, years ago, yes, long time ago. I try to keep my hand in a little bit, but I think Ali's done it as well. So
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
yeah. My ears picked up when I must have woken when I heard you talking about the banana diet.
Yeah.
I think I was into raw foods for a while, and I was doing the banana diet for about a month. Have you heard of Duran Rider?
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
He inspired me into that sort of diet. So yeah, that was great.
How was your? Yeah, how did that go for you?
Fantastic, yeah. It was great for keeping the weight down. Fantastic for energy. I had just an abundance of energy. I've never felt lighter. I've never felt faster. Good movement. So it was great for keeping the weight down. And it's just
Do you still eat bananas, or do you not want to touch another one for the rest of your life?
no. And in case for anybody listening, no, never put me off bananas at all. But when you chop up bananas and you put them in the freezer for a few hours and then put them into a food processor with just a touch of water, then you have instant ice cream. I've given this to many people and asked them what to think of it. So, oh, that's beautiful ice cream. And then I said, do you know it's just bananas and nothing else? And they can't believe it until they actually see me making it. And my friends have given it to their children, and the children don't even know it's bananas. They think it's ice cream. So it's a fantastic, healthy ice cream for kids to be introduced to fruit. But it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
We do the same thing with strawberries and mangoes.
Yes, yeah. I think if you put a strawberry in it, so it becomes strawberry ice cream, you know. So it's So it's amazing to see you advocating the vegan diet and your martial arts and flat earth. So yeah, I'm with you all the way on all your interests, really. So it's great to see you on the show. So thanks very much for coming.
Appreciate it.
Just very briefly, I gotta check out. Thanks a lot. It's been wonderful to be part of this very great conversation. So great to talk to you almost face to face, Eric, and everyone else.
Likewise.
Ali.
Likewise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, let's do it again, Nick. See you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
the curve. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Good night.
Yeah, it'll be good. Yes, put you on the curve.
Cheers for now. All right.
Cheers, Nick. Take it easy, mate.
No, so how's your interviews been going then, John? I heard you've been doing a couple. Have you got anything in the horizon?
Yes, I've got one or two actually. Yes, but
Right.
I think we agreed, like Dale and myself agreed not to put out too many at the same time.
Yeah. So you've been a busy wee chap.
Space out your uploads.
Sorry, what was that?
It's good to space your uploads, put a few days or at least a day in between instead of doing. Some people will do a mass upload of a bunch of videos all at once, and it's just not a very effective way to get your content out there. So
yeah, you're just doing what Dale was saying last week. Yeah, and I think you can see there's a few of us on the show with different different strings to our bows. So yeah, I think it's good to space all that out. And think there's a lot of creativity there, which is great. And I love being around these guys that are on the show because there's so much individual creativity. So yeah, great.
We'll need to get some new things happening, as I was saying earlier, you know, try some different aspects. But again, you know, it would be great to take it up a notch and, you know, get some sort of academic who, you know, has a real go at trying to defend their globe, or, you know, will come for real discussion. For me, that's really where it needs to go. You know, I hope that it would inspire enough people to go out and, you know, and maybe do other street interviews and stuff and spread the word that way. But it'd be great to get it at the next level and get some, you know, academics. Not that I've got any, you know, greater respect for them to the common man, but just so that we can hit that part of it, you know.
Absolutely, Dale. You know,
Yeah,
I really do think that's an important aspect, that, you know, getting these people that are still entrenched in their daily life and are not thinking about it, who are educating or teaching, they need to really come to the table now. And you know, you told me once, you know, Gavin, you know, tell us about your academic qualifications, you know, so that people are not scared, you know. And to be honest, I don't like doing it, and I'll say it again, because, you know, I think the credentials that we all have are those of common sense and the common man, and we're all equal in that respect. But, you know, I've studied math. I've got an honours degree in maths and physics, yeah, combined honours degree, and it all doesn't make any fucking sense, yeah. So, you know, all I can say to the academics out there is look at it, come and discuss it openly with everybody, and you know, wake up and do something about it. And it's not just a bunch of, you know, deluded beach bums or idiots in sheds, or, you know, or whatever they want to kind of, you know, project onto it, yeah. It's about time. Yeah, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. But, you know,
I've got a room now.
It's just about time that you know, that they took this whole thing seriously, because it's not going to go away, and people aren't going to, you know, stop doing this. So, you know, they might as well face up to it quicker than later. Sorry, that was just my wee rant.
Nice one, Gav. I'm behind you all the way, mate.
It's good to get that out there to people, you know, because we spoke about that before. That has a sway with people, you know, if they think, you know, somebody has qualifications or a degree, whatever it might be, then it seems to have more sway with them. And we need to, you know, target every aspect of society. And that's why it's good to have so many different, you know, type of personality, with different angle. But, you know, it's great. You know, for me, I'd love to get the academic side. Somebody genuine who, you know, is a qualified lecturer or, you know, physicist, whatever they want to claim. But as I say, you know, people know how long the platform's been there, and we're yet to see it. So when
and Dale, you know, there's all the universities. I mean, they've all got websites. All these professors have all got email addresses. I mean, don't know what you could do there, you know.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I've written to quite a lot of them. Yeah, you know, I've sent emails to professors of mathematics. I haven't had one response. Yeah, and I haven't put flat Earth in the subject heading of the emails or anything like that. But, you know, obviously you have to you know, say something in there to get them interested. But not one up until now.
Yeah, but I think you should stop calling them fuckers. You should stop calling them fuckers, maybe.
Well, I could call you a fucker as well, Ali. It's nothing against them, you know.
You know, still put that in your letters. You might get on a wee bit better.
I didn't, man.
I'm only kidding, man. Well, that's a great idea, but I don't know how you'd get. But you know, what about going for second graders, or, you know, just any you know, universities? Just, I don't know. We could start sending letters.
Something like filming a hand, you know, handing it over to, you know, whoever you'd like to target. But you know, film handing them over the note, the letter, whatever it might be. You know, harassing people for a response. I don't mean harassing them in a, you know, where you're being a pest, but, you know, just taking action in order to try and get a reaction from them in any way we can. You know. Yeah.
I think it'll kick off in the summer. I think once the weather gets a bit better, Dale, I think a lot more people are going to, you know, they're going to finally make a move and go out and start doing that, getting a wee bit more active, I think.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I think so, but it's just the weather now. It's a bad time of year, even in Europe and stuff like that. So, but I believe that anyway. So, I will be. I'll be hitting some Danes. I'm right next to the water, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. You know, once the spring kicks in and the weather gets better, got some ideas, and you know, going to try different aspects in the street. I spoke with John before, you know, and mentioned earlier about taking an iPad and, you know, some graphics and, you know, just trying different angles, different approaches. But, you know, for me, it's like, you know, I would like to move up the next level. And I don't mean the trolls from YouTube with the same old regurgitated crap, you know, I mean real people that are up for real discussion, you know. So.
Absolutely. They need to come out the woodwork now, right? Yeah. Trust themselves and come out and discuss it, yeah.
So, yeah, because we haven't killed anybody yet, you know, everybody's went away undamaged when they've come on to visit the show, so there's nothing to fear there, is there?
Absolutely, it's just grown-ups having a conversation, right? So,
well, as you know, we're not, as you say, we're not idiots or anything like that. We're quite polite, you know, so and respectful. I think that's one. Sorry, Dale, on you go.
No, that's it. You know, they know that, they know the format, you know, and how to apply themselves. But you know, we've yet to see it. We get dishonesty and troll behaviour with sophism and, you know, other manipulative tactics, and that's about it. You know, so but all it does is just, you know, add weight to the fact that there is a deception and, you know, a deliberate attempt to keep it quiet and cover it up as best they can. You know, when that's all they have to offer.
Yep, it all falls down. The emperor has no clothes.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, I'm going to have to knock it on the head. Eric, nice meeting you at last. Hope you can come back on at some point in the future, maybe. Let's keep in touch.
Thanks.
And
definitely, yeah, it's good to meet you.
Guys, have a nice call still. Yeah, hang in there.
All right, Gavin, you have a good day, mate.
Yeah.
Cheers, Gavin.
Bye.
Yeah, nice one, buddy. Speak to you later.
Yeah. Well, guys, I'm pretty much the same. It's been 3.5 hours, and it's been great. Cool, 2.5 hours, sorry.
Alright, me too. I'm hungry now.
Right. So, everybody that's come on, Eric, you know, appreciate you coming on, man. You know, you're welcome to come in anytime you like. If you get some free time, you can pop in whenever, man.
Great. Yeah, your show's usually when I'm fast asleep, so I don't know.
Come on.
Yeah, if I wake up in the middle of the night.
I'm okay.
Well, we can.
Okay, just going up past his.
I'm just going to mute Ali here because.
Oh, right, okay, tack, okay.
You know, we can arrange it again if you want to do it again sometime. You know, we can do it in the afternoon. I'm up for that, mate. Nice. I appreciate you for coming on and supporting the activism and all the work that you've done, and probably will continue to do. You know.
Right back at you, man.
Cheers, bud. Appreciated, mate.
See you guys.
Robbie, cheers.
Right, catch you tomorrow or the day after. See you, Ali.
Yeah, nice one,
guys.
Cheers.
Yep.
John, cheers, man.
Yep, good.
Cheers for
Yeah,
coming
so that
on.
was yeah, nice one. Yep, thanks Eric for coming on, mate, and yeah, thanks for your work. Keep it up and take it easy.
Good.
Likewise,
right,
buddy. Yeah. You take it easy. All right, guys. John, Marshall, see you later.
See you later, Ali.
Cheers, guys.
John, cheers, man. Aye, so thanks to everybody. Nick, Gav, Rob, Marshall. Is Magumba there in the chat as well? Marshall.
Yeah, he's still here, man.
Yeah, nice one. Cheers, Shooty boy. And thanks to everybody for showing up. As I say, you know, I'm contemplating maybe going back on at 7:30, but we're nearly at 6 o'clock here, so I don't know how people feel, or has there been any requests for anybody to come in and have a say or anything, Marshall?
There were a number of requests for people to join the panel for questions for Eric, but I explained that would be for another occasion. Yeah, well, we'll have to see how we go, but I mean, I can do 7:30 though if you want to.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, maybe Eric, if Eric wants to come back on again and, you know, come onto an open platform where people can come in and talk and maybe ask questions, you know, we'll see. It's up to Eric if he's up for that. But, you know, I'm certainly up for that. But, aye. So that's about it then. You know, I don't know if I'll go back live at 7:30. I'm I'm not sure. I don't know if there's many people who have got something to say just regarding Eric. But you know, we'll speak to Eric and see how things are, and we'll do it again sometime soon. So, but for now, thanks to everybody who showed up and took part again. Appreciated. Take it easy, people. The Earth's not a globe. It's time for people to face up to that and move on to the next stage. So, cheers. Appreciated, people. Peace.